Hey everyone, tonight we're heading far from the concrete and the deadlines, out onto the glittering, impossibly blue waters of the Sulu Sea. We're here to find a story that slips through the cracks of history. A story about the human body doing things that modern science, with all its data and diagnostics, still can't quite believe. Imagine dropping the height of a 20-story building into the dark, with no oxygen tank, no high-tech fins, and no digital dive watch. You'd be holding your breath, feeling the pressure try to turn your lungs into raisins, all while casually looking for treasure. Let's be honest, you probably wouldn't survive this, and neither would I. Your smartwatch would have a panic attack just trying to calculate the metrics. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. It's always appreciated. As always, I'm curious to see where you're all listening from tonight. Go ahead and post your location and what time it is in your corner of the world. It's fascinating to see this little community of ours spread across the time zones. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You feel the heat first. It's not a gentle warmth. It's a heavy, humid blanket draped over your skin the moment you step onto the swaying wooden boat. You're in the Sulu archipelago, a scattering of islands in the far southwestern Philippines that feel less like a part of the modern world and more like a forgotten map. The water isn't just blue, it's a defiant, shimmering turquoise that seems to glow from within, stretched taut all the way to a horizon that melts into the pale sky. The sun is just as intense, glaring off the surface with a brilliance that forces you to squint, even behind sunglasses. You're pretty sure the sun here isn't just shining, it's actively trying to delete your skin. You find a spot on the boat, a traditional banca with two wooden outriggers that look like spider legs, making the whole craft seem surprisingly delicate. The man steering the small diesel engine gives you a brief nod, and with a sputter of smoke, you're moving. There are no tourist resorts here, no jet skis, no parasailing, just the rhythmic chug of your engine and the occasional glimpse of another banca in the distance. Maybe a fishing village on stilts, huddled against the shore of a passing island. You're headed for the open sea, for the ancestral pearling beds that have been harvested for centuries, long before the Spanish ever dreamed of crossing the Pacific. You're here to witness a dive, a simple act of human physiology that pushes the boundaries of what we think is possible. You're here to see the masters of the deep, the Filipino pearl divers, whose techniques are so profound, so effective, that athletic physiologists fly here from around the world just to scratch their heads and take notes. You're looking for a living legend, a tradition that holds its breath against the rush of the modern world. The man cuts the engine. The sudden silence is vast, broken only by the gentle slap-slap of water against the hull. Here, he says, pointing not at anything in particular, but just ... down into the deep blue. You stare into the water, and it stares right back, revealing nothing. It is just a shimmering, impenetrable surface. You check the depth finder on your guide's modest fish finder, 60 meters. That's nearly 200 feet. You try to picture it, a 20-story building submerged, and they're going down there, with no gear. You feel a knot of vicarious anxiety tighten in your stomach. Your guide seems to notice your expression and just smiles. He's seen that look before. You're floating in what historians call the crossroads of the winds, the Sulu Sea. This area wasn't some isolated backwater. It was a critical node in a massive maritime trade network. For 1,000 years, boats from China, Arabia, and the surrounding islands met here to trade goods. The mainstream historical fact is that these waters were a bustling highway of commerce, long before Magellan ever got lost and ended up here. And what was one of the most prized items from this region? Pearls, perfect, lustrous pearls from the deep. But it's not all grand history. There's a quirkier side to this place. You look at the banca you're sitting in. These outrigger canoes are an ancient design, and some of the more remote communities still build them using techniques passed down orally for generations. It's a classic fringe tidbit. They might look flimsy, patched together with whatever is on hand. But their design is so perfectly suited to these waters that they can handle sudden squalls that would trouble a much larger modern boat. They're the maritime equivalent of a perfectly evolved insect. And as you sit there, rocking gently, you're also floating over a point of academic squabbling. Historians still argue whether the very first Austronesian people to settle these thousands of islands arrived via no sunken land bridges during the last ice age, simply walking across, or if they were already master seafarers tens of thousands of years ago, navigating these same treacherous deepwater channels in canoes, just like this one, conquering the sea from the very beginning. A diver, a man who looks impossibly lean and weathered by the sun, moves to the edge of the boat. He's not wearing a wetsuit, just shorts. He has no fins. He has no mask. Only a pair of simple, hand-carved wooden goggles. He picks up a heavy, smooth stone with a rope tied to it. This is his elevator. This is his secret. You ready your camera, but you know deep down that no lens can capture what you're about to see. This isn't just a sport. This is a story of human adaptation, a biological mystery unfolding right in front of you. A defiance of the very limitations that define us as land-dwelling mammals. He takes a breath, and the world seems to pause. He's still there, poised on the edge of the banca, his body a tight coil of potential energy. He's taken that one last preparatory breath. But what is he looking for? What treasure could possibly be worth this daily bone-crushing risk? You're not talking about the little gritty oysters you might find in a restaurant, the kind you slurp down with lemon and hot sauce. Oh no, the target here is a titan among bivalves. You're here for the Pinctada maxima, the gold-lipped pearl oyster. And maxima isn't just a fancy-sounding name, it's a statement of fact. This is the largest, rarest, and most valuable pearl oyster in the world. Forget the size of your palm, you need to be thinking bigger. Try the size of a dinner plate. These creatures can grow up to 12 inches in diameter and weigh over 10 pounds, a hefty, stony-looking discus hiding on the ocean floor. They aren't clustered together in convenient Isita-harvest beds. They are solitary, sparse, and masters of camouflage. Finding one is like trying to spot a specific gray rock in a quarry full of gray rocks, except the quarry is 200 feet underwater and you're holding your breath. Their shells are thick, often encrusted with sea life, their edges blending perfectly into the coral rubble and sandy bottoms they prefer. The gold-lipped part of their name comes from the iridescent, golden-hued nacre, the mother of fur that lines the inside of their shell. And this golden lining is exactly what gives their pearls that famous, creamy, deep golden luster. These are the source of the legendary South Sea pearls, gems that command astronomical prices in the jewelry houses of Paris and New York. A single perfect golden pearl from one of these oysters can be worth a small fortune. But finding that pearl is a lottery. The real prize, the guaranteed payday, is the shell itself. But first you have to find it. The diver has to know what to look for. Not the whole oyster, but just the sliver of its lip, the slight parting of the shells as it filters the water. It's a search that requires a level of pattern recognition that feels almost superhuman. This, of course, is the mainstream historical fact of the entire endeavor. The Pinctada maxima is the biological engine of this whole story, its specific, limited habitat in the warm waters of the Coral Triangle. The Philippines, Indonesia, and Australia made this region the epicenter of the world's finest pearls for centuries. You simply couldn't get these massive golden pearls anywhere else on Earth. But the search is ridiculously hard, which leads to a quirky tidbit you pick up from your guide. The old divers, the Bajau, swear that the oysters have personalities. They say some are Masanjit cranky or Elton Perdand will wedge themselves so deep into rock crevices that they will break before letting go. Others are described as mahinahan or gentle, sitting openly on the sand as if waiting to be collected. It's like playing hide-and-seek with a piece of seafood that's better at it than you are, mainly because it's a rock that makes jewelry. The divers will tell you that the oyster knows who is looking for it, and a greedy or panicked heart will find nothing but empty seabed. This focus on the pearl versus the shell is actually a point of contention. Historians still argue whether the truly massive pre-colonial trade that defined this region was initially driven by the rare and predictable pearls, or if it was driven by the consistent, reliable, and incredibly beautiful shell. The mother of pearl from a Pinctada maxima is thick, strong, and has that unmatched golden sheen. For centuries, this nacre was shipped to China for intricate furniture inlays, to the Middle East for decorating weapons, and later to Europe to become the prized material for high-end buttons, jewelry boxes, and decorative handles. Finding a pearl was a life-changing bonus, like getting a free toy in your incredibly deep, high-pressure cereal box. The real prize was the box itself. The shell was the currency. The pearl was the jackpot. So the diver, still waiting on the edge of the boat, isn't just looking for a tiny gem. He's hunting for a 10-pound camouflage disc of biological gold, one that might contain a smaller, even more valuable prize. He has to do this on a single breath, in a dim, blue-grey world where his body is screaming at him to return to the light. This isn't your casual beachgoing, this is extreme antiquing, at 200 feet, where the penalty for browsing too long is, well, let's just say you don't get a second chance to think about it. You realize you've been holding your own breath for just a few seconds, just thinking about it. You let it out, feeling a little foolish. The diver beside you has a resting heart rate that's probably half of yours. He's not thinking about the pressure. He's not thinking about the danger. He's picturing the seabed. He's mapping the currents in his mind. He's thinking about that elusive, plate-sized target hidden in the dark, waiting. He's ready. The diver stands, and you instinctively catalog his gear. Your brain trying to find the technology, the equipment that makes the impossible possible. And that's when the first wave of genuine shock hits you. There isn't any. It's not just a lack of modern gear. It's a lack of any gear. You look at him, then you look at your own guides, high-tech fish finder, and the contrast is almost comical. Let us break down what a modern sport diver would need to even think about visiting the depth this man is about to drop to. 60 meters. Remember, that's 200 feet. This isn't your sunny Caribbean reef dive. In the world of recreational scuba, this is an advanced, technical decompression dive. You'd be wearing a thick neoprene wetsuit or even a dress suit because it gets cold and dark down there. You'd have a BCD, that inflatable vest that controls your buoyancy. You'd have a primary regulator in your mouth, an octopus backup regulator tucked under your chin, and a console showing your air pressure and depth. You'd have at least one, probably two, dive computers on your wrist. You wouldn't be breathing regular air, you'd be breathing Trimexa blend of oxygen, helium, and nitrogen to combat the debilitating effects of nitrogen narcosis. You'd have a powerful dive light, a knife, and massive rigid fins. You'd be carrying easily 80 pounds of sophisticated life support equipment. You would look less like a human and more like a very slow, very clumsy astronaut. Now look back at the diver. He's wearing a pair of thin, torn shorts. That's it. No, wait, he has goggles. But they aren't the sleek, silicon-skirted masks you're used to. These are hand-carved, small, and look almost like wooden spectacles. This is your quirky tidbit for the day. These goggles are a work of art and a marvel of physics. They are often carved from tough mangrove wood, painstakingly shaped to fit the diver's individual face. The lenses, they're not shatterproof, polycarbonate. They're often salvaged from any clear, hard material that washes ashore bits of old glass. Maybe even the plastic from a broken taillight, which are then ground down and sealed into the wooden frames, using tree sap or beeswax. When he puts them on, they don't enclose his nose. This means he can't equalize the pressure in the mask by blowing air out of his nose. As he descends, the water pressure will squeeze these tiny goggles against his face with incredible force, a phenomenon known as mask squeeze that would rupture blood vessels in the eyes of an untrained diver. For him, it's just a normal Tuesday. He has no fins, you scan his feet, nothing, just bare calloused soles. Fins, you realize, are for moving horizontally, therefore propulsion. But this diver isn't planning on a leisurely swim. He's going down vertically and fast. Fins would just create drag on the way down and get in the way while he works on the bottom. He has no wetsuit. A wetsuit with its thousands of tiny trapped air bubbles is designed to keep you warm by adding buoyancy. Buoyancy is the last thing he wants. He needs to be heavy. He needs to sink. The only equipment you can see, the only tools for the job, are lying at his feet. A heavy gray stone, smooth from years of use, and a coil of thin rope. This complete lack of gear is, of course, the central fact for the physiologists. The human body is not designed for this. A 200-foot dive on a single breath multiple times a day should not be possible. It defies our understanding of human limits, yet here it is. The divers have no computers to tell them when to ascend, no gas mixes to keep their minds clear, no suits to keep them warm. They have only their bodies, their minds, and this ancient minimalist toolkit. And it's this very minimalism that sparks a fierce debate. Historians still argue whether this stark lack of equipment is simply a tragic marker of the economic poverty and isolation of these communities, a Mikado solution because they simply can't afford the safety of modern tech. Or is it the exact opposite? Is this a perfectly evolved, hyper-efficient system honed over 1,000 years to be the ideal solution for this one specific task? A system that modern, bulky, and expensive scuba gear could never hope to replicate. The diver bends. He doesn't strap on a weight belt, he just picks up his rock. It's a batting pangulos, a dropping stone, and it probably weighs 25, maybe 30 pounds. A rope is tied around it, and the other end of that rope is tied to the banca. This is his elevator down, and, crucially, it's his safety line. His partner on the boat, his tendero, will hold this rope, feeling for the diver's signals from the dark. You or I would be strapping on our gear, checking our gauges, running through a mental checklist of all the things that could go wrong. We'd need an app to log the dive, another to check the weather, and probably a third to play a calming ocean sounds playlist, which is a bit redundant, all things considered. The diver just stands there, holding his rock. He takes a few short, cleansing breaths, not the deep, frantic hyperventilation you see in movies. That is a dangerous rookie mistake that purges too much CO2 and can lead to a shallow water blackout. No, he just breathes, calmly, and then takes one final deep, purposeful inhalation. He holds it. He looks down at the water, and without a splash, he simply steps off the side of the boat and vanishes. He's gone. 1 second, he was a man holding a rock. The next, he's a cascade of bubbles, already 10 feet below the surface. The rope, that thin, unassuming line, zips through the tendero's calloused hands and disappears into the blue. You plunge in after him, your imaginary gear hissing, and you struggle to keep up. He is not swimming, he is plummeting. That 30-pound stone, the batong pangulos, is dragging him toward the seabed at an incredible speed, well over 3 feet per second. You, with all your fins and training, would be fighting your own buoyancy, kicking hard to force yourself down. He is simply ... falling. This is his elevator, and he's taking the express. The world changes around you with alarming speed. The first 30 feet are bright, warm, and familiar, a shimmering turquoise world. Then, as you pass the 50-foot mark, the colors begin to shift. The brilliant reds and yellows on the coral fade to a dull brownish green. The water itself transforms from turquoise to a deep royal blue, then to a dark, heavy indigo. The sun, which was a glaring tyrant just moments ago, is now a distant, shimmering disk, its power fading. The sound of the banca's engine, the lapping waves, all of it is gone. The world is suddenly muffled, silent. The only sound is the rush of water past your ears and the dull, steady thud of your own heart, which is already sounding a little too loud, a little too fast. And then, the pressure. You feel it instantly at 33 feet. The pressure of the water above you is equal to one entire atmosphere, the same as all the air from sea level to the edge of space. You're now being squeezed by double the normal pressure. At 66 feet, it's triple. At 100 feet, it's quadruple. You're heading for 200 feet, which means by the time you reach the bottom, your body will be under 7 times the normal atmospheric pressure. 7 ATPAs. It's not an abstract concept. You feel it in your sinuses, a dull ache behind your eyes. You feel it in your ears, a sharp, painful spike. You instinctively pinch your nose and blow, equalizing the pressure, but you have to do it again and again and again. The diver, you notice, doesn't even flinch. He just flexes something in his throat. Master-level technique, and his ears clear instantly, over and over. The pressure is now a physical weight, a giant, invisible hand squeezing your entire body. It's compressing the air in your lungs to 1/10 of its original volume. You feel your chest tighten, your diaphragm pushed up into your chest cavity. It's a profoundly uncomfortable, unnatural feeling. This, right here, is the mainstream historical fact of the descent. The stone is the key. Its weight gets the diver to the working depth in under a minute, conserving the vast majority of his precious, single breath for the real work, the search. He's not wasting energy on the commute. This is the ancient world's equivalent of a hyperloop, powered by gravity. He's a living torpedo, a streamlined dart aimed at the seabed. You notice he's holding the rope with one hand and the stone with the other. But the stone isn't just a dumb weight. This is the quirky tidbit. The stone is also a rudder. You watch him angle it slightly, using the water resistance to steer his descent, guiding himself toward a promising patch of sand and coral he spotted from the surface. These stones are personal, prized possessions. A diver might use the same baton for decades until it's as smooth and familiar as his own hand. Some ultimers would swear their stone knew the way to the oysters, a lucky, dense companion in the lonely deep. This technique is so specific, so elegant, that it's the center of a long-standing academic debate. Historians still argue whether the Batong Pangilos was a completely independent, indigenous invention of the Sama Bajau people, or if it was a technology they borrowed. Thousands of miles away, in the Aegean Sea, ancient Greek sponge divers used an almost identical method, riding a flat, heavy stone called a Scandilopetra into the depths. Were these two completely separate solutions to the same problem? Or does it hint at an ancient forgotten line of communication, a diffusion of deep diving technology that spread across the oceans thousands of years ago? You've stopped checking your imaginary depth gauge. You're just falling, surrounded by a dim, featureless blue-gray void. The surface is gone. The bottom is not yet visible. You are suspended in the deep, and the pressure is now immense, a constant, crushing embrace. Your lungs feel impossibly small. You'd be panicked, checking your air, fighting the urge to flee back to the light. The diver beside you is a picture of absolute, eerie calm. He's just ... commuting. He's going to the office. Just as you start to wonder if there is a bottom, the dim, sandy seabed rushes up to meet you. The diver deftly lets go of the stone, which continues its journey to the bottom, and he lands on his bare feet as lightly as a feather, not stirring up the silt. He's arrived 200 feet down. The silence is absolute. The pressure is breathtaking. And now, the hunt begins. You've landed, you're standing on the seabed, 200 feet below the sun. The pressure is a physical, relentless weight, squeezing every inch of your body. Your lungs, compressed to a fraction of their size, feel like two tiny, useless sponges. The light down here is not darkness, but a dim, grainy, monochromatic twilight. Everything is blue, or gray, or blue-gray. The vibrant colors of the shallow reef are a distant memory. The silence is the most profound thing you have ever experienced. It's an absolute absence of sound that rings in your ears. You look at your imaginary dive computer, and it's just flashing a series of skulls and crossbones and, probably, a very polite, "Are you insane?" message. Your body is screaming a single primal command: up. NOW. You've been down for perhaps a minute, and your fight-or-flight response is already hammering the flight button so hard the hinges are breaking. And then you look at the diver. He's fine. He's not just fine, he's working. He landed with impossible gentleness, his bare feet barely displacing the fine white sand. He didn't kick up a cloud of silt, which would have ruined the visibility and made his entire trip worthless. He's a professional. This is his office. You readjust the terrified intern who showed up on the first day and is already hiding in the supply closet. He immediately begins to move, and it's not at all what you expected. He doesn't swim. Swimming, with all that kicking and arm pulling, would burn his precious oxygen at a ferocious rate. No, he walks. This is the quirky, brilliant tidbit of his technique. He bends at the waist, and in the near weightlessness of the deep. He pulls himself along the seabed with his hands, taking long, loping, slow-motion strides with his legs. It looks exactly like the footage of an astronaut bounding across the moon. It's a gait designed for one thing and one thing only: maximum efficiency. Every single movement is measured, calm, and has a purpose. There are no wasted gestures, no panicked scrambles. His head swivels slowly, his eyes, protected by those absurd and perfect wooden goggles, are scanning the rubble. He's not looking for a treasure chest. He's looking for a rock that looks slightly different from all the other rocks. This search is the entire point, the mainstream historical fact of his workday. The Pinctada maxima, that's our dinner plate-sized oyster, remember, is a master of camouflage. It's solitary. It doesn't live in convenient, densely packed beds like a farmed mussel. You'll find one here, another 50 feet away, and then maybe nothing for 100 yards. The diver has to cover a significant patch of seabed to make this trip worthwhile, all while the clock in his lungs is ticking down. He's looking for the lip, that tiny fractional parting of the shells, or the slight, regular shape of its edge, half buried in the sand. It's a level of pattern recognition that your brain, currently busy with its Ogedwaragointode subcommittee, simply cannot process. He's got the focus of a jeweler. If the jeweler was 200 feet deep and holding his breath, you float above him, a useless, buoyant spectator. How long has it been? A minute and a half. 2 minutes. Your own lungs are now burning. The urge to inhale is no longer a polite suggestion. It's a violent, physical command. This is the buildup of carbon dioxide in your blood, and your brain is sounding every alarm it has. The diver, though, his movements are just as smooth, just as calm as they were when he first landed. This is the true miracle, the one the physiologists can't quantify. It's not just his body, it's his mind. This very scene is the heart of a grim academic debate. Physiologists and sports scientists still argue whether this kind of daily, repetitive exposure to such extreme depths is something the human body ever truly adapts to, or if it's simply a cumulative trauma. Are these divers a living example of human evolution, a genetic adaptation? Or are they just incredibly tough, skilled individuals who are slowly, dive by dive, inflicting irreversible neurological and physiological damage on themselves? Is this a sustainable, ancient practice, or is it a brutal high-stakes gamble forced on them by economic necessity? His hand shoots out. He stops. He's seen it. You stare at the spot. You see nothing, just sand and coral debris. He untucks a small, flat piece of iron from the waistband of his shorts. He kneels, digs slightly, and wedges the iron bar under the edge of, oh, there it is. It's huge, a massive grayish-white disc clamped shut and anchored to a piece of buried rock. He levers the bar, putting his wiry strength into it. He's trying to pop a 10-pound bivalve that has the grip strength of a bank vault. The oyster refuses to budge. He resets, takes a different angle, and with a sudden practiced pop, the byssal threads break. The oyster is free. He doesn't pause to admire his catch. He doesn't check his non-existent watch. He instantly scoops the massive shell into a small, worn-out net bag tied at his waist. His job here is done. He has the prize. He turns. His movements now visibly more urgent, and finds the thin rope still connected to his guiding stone. He grabs it. He gives it 3 sharp, powerful tugs, the unmistakable signal to the tendero waiting in the world of light and air above. The rope goes taut, instantly. From 200 feet above, the tendero on the boat begins to pull. He's not just casually reeling in a fish. He is pulling with his entire body weight, bracing his bare feet against the banca's wooden ribs, hauling his partner up from the crushing deep. The diver, for his part, makes himself as streamlined as possible, holding the rope, his net bag with its single precious oyster tight against his hip. He is now a dead weight, an object to be retrieved. His role in the propulsion over the ascent has begun, and it is alarmingly fast. You, the imaginary panicked spectator, are in catastrophic trouble. You have been down for, 3 minutes? Maybe more. Your lungs are not just burning, they are on fire. They feel like they are collapsing into 2 dry, aching voids. Your brain is a frantic mess of flashing red lights and klaxons. The carbon dioxide in your system has reached toxic levels. Your vision is narrowing, a gray tunnel closing in. Your heart? Oh, your heart. It's a terrified bird trapped in your ribs, slamming against the bone. A frantic, desperate thump-thump-thump that you feel in your ears, your throat, your eyeballs. It's probably hammering away at 150 beats per minute, a full-blown panic attack rhythm. You'd be kicking, flailing, a desperate, clumsy explosion of bubbles, fighting to get up. You are an oxygen-burning disaster. But the diver you're with, he's the complete opposite. As you are falling apart, his body is performing its first, and perhaps most profound, biological magic trick. The moment his face, his forehead and nostrils hit the water back on the surface, a signal was sent to his brainstem. A switch was flipped. It's called the mammalian dive reflex, and it's the mainstream historical fact that underpins this entire survival story. You have it, I have it, every mammal on Earth has it. It's an ancient evolutionary piece of hardware, a holdover from our most distant water-dwelling ancestors. When a mammal's face is submerged in cold water, the body automatically panics in a very, very smart way. It instantly triggers a series of physiological changes designed for one thing, to conserve oxygen. And the first most dramatic change is bradycardia. This is the technical term for a plunging heart rate. While your heart is trying to escape your chest, his heart is taking a nap. From a resting rate of maybe 60 beats per minute, it has plummeted. We're talking 40, 30, maybe even 25 beats per minute. That's not a heartbeat. That's a heart suggestion. It's a slow, deliberate thump, pause, Pause. Thump. This is the body's low-power mode, and it's the secret to his bottom time. A slower heart rate consumes drastically less oxygen, saving that precious single breathful ardern for the two things that absolutely cannot be turned off: the heart itself and the brain. This is the quirky tidbit. Elite modern freedivers spend years, training with meditation and biofeedback to try and consciously lower their heart rate to hack their dive reflex. They see a drop of 30% as a massive success. These Filipino divers, doing this 10, 20, 30 times a day, their heart rate plummets 50% or more, and they do it as easily as you or I would. Well, breathe. It's not a trick they learned, it's just who they are. At the same time, a second trick is happening: peripheral vasoconstriction. It's a fancy term for a simple, brutal triad. His body is making a choice. His brain has decided that his arms and legs are non-essential. His fingers and toes, who needs M? His skin, a luxury. His circulatory system is clamping shut all the capillaries and arteries in his extremities, shunting all that warm, oxygen-rich blood away from his limbs and into his central core. His body has become a heart-lung-brain machine, and that's it. This is why his movements on the bottom were so slow, so deliberate. He literally couldn't have a panic-fueled thrashing fit. His muscles were barely getting any blood, operating in a low-power anaerobic state. This incredible automatic physiological response is, naturally, the source of a huge debate. Scientists still argue whether the potency of this dive reflex in the Bajau people is a true genetic adaptation-specific, evolved trait, a diving gene that makes them fundamentally different from, say, a kid from Ohio. If it's an extreme example of phenotypic plasticity, meaning any human, if they started this training from infancy and did it every day of their lives, would develop the same superpowers. Is it nature or is it nurture, pushed to its absolute water-crushing limit? The diver is rising, dangling from the rope, his heart beating at the slow, steady pace of a hibernating crocodile. You're a wreck. He's a perfectly optimized, oxygen-conserving biological submarine. His body's first trick has worked. It got him the time he needed. But now, as he rockets toward the surface, that same body has to perform a whole new set of miracles to avoid literally tearing itself apart. He's rising fast, a pale, streamlined shape ascending from the indigo gloom. The tendero above is pulling with a steady, practiced rhythm, bringing his partner home. The diver is still a model of conservation. His heart is beating at a hibernating pace. His limbs are cold and shut down. His entire being focused on that single task, holding on. But even with these incredible power-saving measures, the oxygen from that single breath, taken what feels like an eternity ago, is running out. His brain, that greedy 3-pound lump of jelly, is burning through the last remaining molecules. For you or me, this is the end. This is when the lights go out. This is the deep water blackout, the point of no return, where the diver simply faints and ... that's it. But just as his O2 saturation plummets to a level that would send a hospital's worth of monitoring equipment into a full-blown crisis, his body plays its next ace. It's a trick so subtle, so brilliant, you'd never even know it was happening. It's the spleen. Yes, that organ, the one you barely remember from biology class, the one that most people think is just a spare part, a vaguely bean-shaped thing that sits next to your stomach, and ... what does it even do? Well, in your body, it mostly filters blood and helps your immune system. In this diver's body, it's a secret, internal scuba tank. This is the incredible mainstream fact that has physiologists so excited. The spleen acts as a biological reservoir, a storage depot packed full of oxygen-rich red blood cells. As the diver's body screams for oxygen, his nervous system sends a desperate signal. In response, the smooth muscle around his spleen contracts. It squeezes down hard on itself like a fist closing. This contraction forces a massive autotransfusion of those stored, fresh off the bench red blood cells, into his circulatory system. It's a jolt of pure, highest oxygen, a biological nitrous oxide boost shot directly into his bloodstream, timed perfectly for the most critical phase of the dive. The ascent, this last-minute oxygen drop, is just enough to keep his brain lit, to keep him conscious and functional for those final, desperate 100 feet. And here's the quirky, mind-bending tidbit. When scientists came here to study the Bajau people, the sea nomads to whom these divers belong, they made a stunning discovery using portable ultrasound machines. The spleens of the Bajau are, on average, 50% larger than the spleens of their neighboring land-dwelling farming communities. This is not a minor variation. This is a massive, statistically significant physiological difference. It's like discovering one group of people is born with a third lung. Your spleen is a modest little intern, sorting the mail. His spleen is the high-performance division of a Formula One team, waiting in the pits with a fresh set of tires and a full tank of fuel. It's a genetic superpower, a piece of evolved hardware. This discovery, of course, has thrown gasoline on the fire of that central academic debate. Historians and geneticists still argue whether this larger spleen is the smoking gun of true human evolution in action. The evidence is incredibly strong. Scientists have even identified a specific gene, PDE10A, which is present in the Bajau, and not their neighbors, a gene that is believed to regulate thyroid hormones, which in turn influences spleen size. This suggests this isn't just a training effect. This is a genetic adaptation honed over thousands of years, favoring individuals who could dive deeper and stay down longer. But the nurture side of the argument isn't dead yet. They counter that, while the gene might provide the potential, a lifetime of daily extreme diving from childhood almost certainly enhances the effect, acting as a training stimulus that pushes this genetic predisposition to its absolute maximum. Is it the gene, or is it the lifestyle? The most likely answer is, yes, it's a perfect feedback loop, a perfect marriage of genetic inheritance and lifelong brutal conditioning. The diver is still rising. The water around you is shifting, turning from a deep, pressurized indigo back toward a brighter, more familiar royal blue. The surface is getting closer. You can feel the pressure lessening, a giant hand slowly unclenching its grip. He's made it. His heart is slow, his limbs are cold, but his spleen just gave him the good juice to keep his brain from blacking out. He's survived the oxygen crisis, but in a cruel, ironic twist of physics, this very release of pressure is about to unleash a far more insidious and terrifying threat. You're rising, and the world is changing again, this time for the better. The oppressive, crushing indigo of the deep is giving way to a more hopeful royal blue. The sun, once a forgotten rumor, is now a shimmering, reachable goal. The pressure is finally releasing its grip. You can feel your chest physically expanding, the invisible giant unclenching its fist. That relentless 7-atmosphere squeeze is fading, and this very sensation of relief is what makes your brain stop and truly process the physics of what you just endured. How are you not dead? How is your chest cavity not just ... a concave ruin? Let's be honest, your lungs, those two beautiful air-filled balloons, are your body's biggest liability in the deep. Down at 200 feet, the air inside them was compressed by that 7-to-1 pressure ratio. Your lungs, full of air at the surface, were reduced to the size of 2 shriveled-up sandwich bags. They were tiny, dense, pathetic things. This creates a vacuum, a void, and physics, as we all know, hates a void. The immense external water pressure, with nothing inside to push back, should have simply collapsed your entire ribcage inwards. It should have snapped your ribs, liquefied your organs, and turned your lungs into a bloody pulp. This is called thoracic squeeze, and it's just as grim as it sounds. You'd be crushed like a tin can in a hydraulic press. So why are you not a human-shaped pancake? Because your body, in its infinite and slightly terrifying wisdom, performed its most dramatic magic trick, the thoracic blood shift. This is the mainstream fact, and it's a masterpiece of biological engineering. Remember that peripheral vasoconstriction we talked about? The reflex that shut down all the blood flow to your arms and legs. A callback, see, that wasn't just to save oxygen. It was to create a mobile, liquid reserve. As the pressure built on your descent, your body's brilliant. Panicked plumbing system rerouted liters of blood from your extremities and abdominal organs into your chest cavity. The vast, sprawling network of blood vessels in your lungs, the pulmonary capillaries and alveoli, came massively engorged with this borrowed blood. They swelled up like biological packing peanuts, filling every cubic millimeter of space left behind by your shriveling lungs. Your thorax, at 200 feet, was no longer filled with tiny lungs and a lot of empty, crushable space. It was filled with tiny lungs and a lot of dense, incompressible blood. The ocean was trying to crush you with liquid pressure. Your body, in a move of pure genius, fought back by filling you with liquid. It was a hydraulic standoff. Water can't compress water. Liquid can't crush liquid. Your body used its own internal plumbing to perfectly balance the external pressure of the sea. It's like your internal engineer saw the roof caving in and, in a stroke of mad genius, decided to flood the attic to the ceiling to hold it up. It's a messy, desperate solution, and it works perfectly. Now, for the quirky and slightly less elegant tidbit, this massive sudden flood of blood into your chest has a side effect. Your heart and its surrounding sensors, feeling this incredible surge of fluid volume in your core, make a very logical, but in this case, very wrong, assumption. They think the body is dangerously overrated. They think you just, for some reason, chugged a gallon of water. The body's response to too much fluid is immediate and predictable. This is called immersion diuresis. To put it more simply, the diver has to pee a lot. It's not a choice. It's an involuntary reflex triggered by the blood shift. Elite modern freedivers all know it. And you can be sure these traditional divers do too. It's just the body's way of lightening the load, so to speak. Let's all just be thankful he's in the ocean and not, say, a crowded elevator. This entire violent process of flooding the chest with blood is, as you can imagine, the subject of a very serious debate. Physiologists and medical historians still argue whether a lifetime of this is truly harmless. Is it possible to repeatedly subject your delicate lung tissues and capillaries to this massive, pressurized engorgement, day after day, for 30 years, without consequences? Does it cause microscopic scarring? Does it lead to a higher risk of long-term pulmonary edema, or put a cumulative decades-long strain on the heart? Or is the human body just that astonishingly resilient, able to treat this hydraulic roller coaster as just another day at the office? So, as you rocket upward, this entire process is happening in reverse. The pressure fades. Your lungs are reinflating like two dry sponges dropped in water. As they expand, they are squeezing that borrowed blood out of your chest, pushing it back into your arms, your legs, your fingers. You are a biological accordion, silently reinflating as you rise. The squeeze is over. You're almost home. But physics has one last cruel trick up its sleeve. The blood shift saved you from being crushed. But it did nothing to save you from the very air, the gases you've absorbed into your very tissues. You're still ascending, pulled from the deep by the rope, a human fish on a line. The physical adaptations your body has deployed are staggering. You've flooded your own chest with blood to keep from being crushed, remember that? You've squeezed your own spleen like a juice box to get a last-minute oxygen boost. Your heart is beating at the relaxed, leisurely pace of a crocodile sunbathing. Your body, on a purely mechanical level, is a masterpiece of survival engineering. But as you rise through the blue, you realize none of it matters. Not the spleen, not the blood shift, not the slow-beating heart. None of it would work without the most powerful and most invisible adaptation of all, his mind. Because while his body was running this perfect low-power deep dive script, your brain, the one you, the Landweller, are stuck with wood, have staged a full-scale catastrophic mutiny. The true enemy down there isn't the pressure, it isn't the cold, it isn't even the lack of oxygen. The real killer, the one that gets you every time, is panic. And your brain is a panic factory. Let's be clear about the mainstream neurological fact here. The urge to breathe, that violent, non-negotiable command that would be making you want to claw your way to the surface. It's not actually triggered by a lack of oxygen. It's triggered by a buildup of carbon dioxide. As your cells burn O2, they create CO2 as waste. This CO2 dissolves in your blood, and your brainstem is exquisitely, infuriatingly sensitive to it. The second your CO2 level rises, a primitive lizard brain alarm goes off. It screams, "Exhale." Now, it doesn't care that you're 200 feet underwater. It doesn't care that inhaling would fill your lungs with the Sulu Sea. It just knows CO2 levels are high, and it responds by hammering the big red "breathe, you idiot" button. This signal triggers your sympathetic nervous system, the fight-or-flight response. Your heart rate would instantly jackhammer bye-bye bradycardia. You'd start burning through your remaining oxygen at a ferocious rate. You'd feel a wave of pure claustrophobic terror. You'd lose control. You'd flail. You'd open your mouth. It's game over. You couldn't even hold your breath to find your keys at the bottom of the community pool without this panic setting in. This guy is at 200 feet, shopping for oysters. The diver, however, is a fortress. He feels the same CO2 alarm, he hears the same lizard brain screaming, and he has simply learned, through thousands of hours of practice, to say no. He has, through sheer force of will and a lifetime of training, mastered his own autonomic nervous system. He is able to keep his body in a rest and digest parasympathetic state, even as every primitive signal is telling him to go full fight or flight. He's not ignoring the signal, he's observing it. He's treating the urge to breathe as just another piece of data. Ah yes, his brain seems to say, the CO2 levels are climbing. How interesting. That's fine, we're still working. This is a level of mental control that mindfulness gurus in California would charge you a fortune to even describe, let alone teach. Here's the quirky tidbit. The divers, of course, don't talk about their parasympathetic nervous system. They talk about making peace with the sea. The old masters, the Bajau, will tell you that you cannot fight the deep, you cannot conquer it, you can only be accepted by it. And the sea, they say, only accepts a quiet heart. If you bring your panic, your fear, your thrashing landweller energy, the sea will take you and keep you. This philosophy, passed down for generations, is a perfect cultural-oriented form of meditative biofeedback. It's an instruction manual for overriding the sympathetic nervous system disguised as a spiritual belief. This, predictably, is the center of a white-hot academic debate. Psychologists and neuroscientists still argue whether this profound mental calm is a trainable skill, or a form of irreversible desensitization. Is it mind over matter? As in, is this diver a supreme mental athlete who is actively in themament, defeating his panic signals through sheer disciplined willpower? Or is it matter over mind? Has he done this so many times, say, 30,000 dives over a 20-year career, that he has simply burned out the wiring? Has his brain, through constant repetitive neurothal exposure to high CO2, just ... given up? Has the "I am suffocating" alarm rung so many times without him actually dying that his brain now treats it as background noise, like a low fuel light you've been ignoring for 50 miles? You just can't be sure. But as you watch him ascend, hanging limply from the rope, you realize his calm is the linchpin for everything. It's the calm that allows the heart to stay slow. It's the calm that keeps the oxygen burn rate low. It's the calm that kept him from flailing on the bottom. His mind is a fortress, an ancient, quiet castle that has learned to weather the siege of his own biology. He has won the battle against panic. He has won the battle against the crush. He's won the battle for oxygen. He's almost at the surface. He's in the clear. Except ... he's not. Because physics has one last cruel and deeply personal trap. The blood shift and the spleen-skis were solutions to the pressure, but they did nothing to solve the problem of the very gases that have been dissolving into his body, deep in his tissues this entire time. And as the pressure fades, they are about to come roaring back to life. You're racing toward the light. The deep, heavy indigo has given way to a bright, almost blinding turquoise. You can see the hull of the banca above you, a dark, familiar shadow shimmering on the surface. The diver is still holding the rope, being hauled up by his partner at a speed that feels reckless, a human express elevator. In less than a minute, he has traveled from a 200-foot crushing depth to near the surface. The pressure is gone. The cold is gone. The urge to breathe, which was a screaming primal terror, is finally about to be answered. He's made it. He's survived. Except, this is the most dangerous part. This, the triumphant return, is where physics lays its most insidious, cruelest trap. And it all has to do with the one thing we haven't talked about: nitrogen. When you're at the surface, you're breathing air that's roughly 21% oxygen and 78% nitrogen. Your body uses the oxygen, but the nitrogen, it's just ... there. It's an inert, neutral gas. You breathe it in, you breathe it out. It does nothing, but that all changes under pressure. Down at 200 feet, at 7 times normal atmospheric pressure, that single deep breath of air in the diver's lungs was compressed. The oxygen was metabolized, but the nitrogen, that inert gas, was forced under that immense pressure to dissolve from his lungs into his bloodstream, and from his bloodstream into his body's tissues. This isn't a theory, it's a named law of physics, Henry's law. The amount of gas that dissolves in a liquid is directly proportional to the pressure of that gas. This is the mainstream terrifying fact of decompression sickness, or the bends. At depth, the diver's tissues, his fat, his muscles, his joints were soaking up nitrogen like a sponge. Now, as he ascends, that crushing pressure is being released. That nitrogen, which was a dissolved liquid in his tissues, wants to become a gas again. It wants to come out of solution. And if the pressure is released too quickly, it does so explosively. You've seen this 1,000 times. The diver's body is a can of soda. At depth, it's a sealed can. You can't see the CO2, but it's there, dissolved in the liquid. The ascent is the act of opening the can. If you pop the top suddenly, what happens? A violent fizzing explosion of foam. Those are the bubbles. Now imagine that happening inside your body. Bubbles of nitrogen gas fizzing out of solution inside your joints. This causes an agonizing, crippling pain, forcing the sufferer to bend over. Bubbles fizzing inside your spinal cord, causing paralysis. Bubbles in your arteries blocking blood flow to your brain, causing a stroke, blindness, or instant death. This is why scuba divers ascend painfully, slowly. They use dive computers that dictate their ascent rate, often no faster than 30 feet per minute. They make mandatory decompression stops, just hanging in the water at 20 feet, 15 feet, 10 feet, sometimes 4 hours, to give all that trapped nitrogen a chance to slowly, harmlessly off-gas through their lungs. And this diver, he just rocketed up 200 feet in about 60 seconds. He just broke the #1 non-negotiable "you will diffuse react" rule of diving. By all modern accepted science, he should be a catastrophic fizzing mess. And here's the quirky tidbit. He's not. He's going to break the surface, gasp for air, and probably do it again in 10 minutes. How? How is this possible? This is the central burning mystery of these divers. Physiologists and medical historians still argue whether the Bajau are somehow genetically resistant to the bends, or this is a much darker theory, they are simply constantly getting bent. The argument is that they do suffer from decompression sickness, but it's a chronic, low-grade, daily version, that ache in their joints. That's not just getting old, that's microbubbles, that creeping paralysis that many older divers suffer from. That's the cumulative, irreversible damage of thousands of dives, thousands of tiny, unhealed neurological insults. But there are other, more elegant theories. Remember that blood shift and vasoconstriction that shut down all circulation to his limbs? Callback, that life-saving trick may have had a life-saving side effect. By shutting down the blood flow to his arms and legs, his body also slowed down the rate at which those tissues could ongus nitrogen in the first place. Furthermore, his dive was fast. He was only down for 34 minutes, limiting his bottom time and thus limiting the total amount of nitrogen he could absorb. He's a bounce diver. He's playing a terrifying high-speed game of beat clock with Henry's Law. He's 3 feet from the surface. You can see the sunlight, fractured and golden, on the water's surface. He's holding on a human time bomb. He breaks the surface. FWOOSH. A violent, explosive exhalation of air. The sound of a man who has not breathed in for minutes. He follows it with a desperate, ragged gasp. He's alive. He's conscious. He's ... fine. He turns, his hand still on the rope, and coughs, spitting out seawater. His tendero helps him, and he swings his leg back over the side of the banca, the massive gold-lip oyster in its net bag still tied to his waist. He did it. He's back in the world of air. But the battle isn't over. The nitrogen is still in him, a silent, ticking clock. He's just sitting there. He's on the wooden plank of the banca, breathing heavily, but breathing. The ragged, desperate gasps have already subsided into a deep, rhythmic inhalation. He's back. He's in the world of air, and the whole terrifying, crushing, nitrogen-fizzing ordeal seems to be ... fine. He just smiles at his partner, the tendero, and they exchange a few words in a language you don't recognize. You're staring at him, this man who looks like he's made of sun-baked leather and rope, and the question is no longer how he did it. The question is, who is he? This isn't just some random Filipino fisherman who happens to be good at holding his breath. This isn't a hobbyist. You're looking at a member of one of the most extraordinary and least understood ethnic groups on Earth. He is one of the Bajau, a people known to the outside world by the romantic and slightly tragic name, the Sea Nomads. This is the mainstream anthropological fact that contextualizes everything you've just seen. The Bajau are an Austronesian people, and for at least 1,000 years, they have lived a life that you can barely comprehend. They are not land people. Their home is not the Philippines, or Malaysia, or Indonesia, even though their territory spans the waters between all three. Their home is the sea itself. For centuries, the most traditional Bajau lived their entire lives on small, hand-carved houseboats called lepa-lepa. These boats, often only 15-20 feet long, were their home, their transport, and their universe. They were born on these boats. They would marry onto other boats, and when they died, they were often buried on a remote, uninhabited beach, or even at sea. You have to recalibrate your entire concept of home. Imagine your house isn't just near the water, it is the water. Your floor is a plank, and beneath that plank is a 1,000-foot deep channel. Your yard is a coral reef. Your grocery store is whatever you can catch, spear, or gather from the deep. Your children don't learn to walk, they learn to swim. The constant, gentle rocking of the lepa-lepa is the baseline of your existence. The smell of salt, dried fish, and diesel is the air you breathe. You have a season-sand ability to read the currents, the winds, and the subtle changes in watercolor that is as innate to you as our ability to read a street sign is to us. Today, many Bajau live in stilt villages, but the principle is the same. These are sprawling, chaotic, and beautiful communities built directly on top of shallow reefs, connected by a rickety network of wooden walkways. The houses are flimsy, often made of driftwood and corrugated tin, but they are perched in the middle of a turquoise paradise. The children, as we'll see, still spend more time in the water than on land, which is just a few planks of wood over the tide. This nomadic transboundary life leads to a profoundly quirky and deeply problematic political tidbit. Most Bajau are stateless. They belong to no country. They have sailed these seas, the Sulu and Celebes. Long before the modern political lines were drawn between the Philippines, Malaysia, and Indonesia, their nomadic roots, following the fish, the pearls, and the sea cucumbers, ignore these imaginary borders. As a result, no country claims them. They have no passports, no national ID cards, no birth certificates. They cannot vote. They have no access to public education or state-sponsored health care. They are, in the 21st century, ghosts. They are citizens of the ocean, and the ocean does not issue paperwork. You complain when your cell service drops a bar. These people's home address is literally that patch of blue over there. For now, this status makes them incredibly vulnerable, subject to prejudice from land-dwelling populations who often look down on them, calling them sea gypsies, a term they dislike, and treating them as outsiders. And yet, this is the very culture that produced the diver sitting in front of you. He is not a diver by profession. He is a Bajau, and diving is simply what they do. His physiological superpowers are the product of this lifestyle. He dives for food, he dives for the valuable sea cucumbers, a major trade good, and, historically, he dives for pearls. This very origin story is of course a source of fierce debate. Anthropologists and historians still argue whether the Bajau were always sea people or if they were pushed to the sea. One theory holds that they were originally a land-based people who, centuries ago, fled conflict, persecution, or perhaps a powerful sultan taking to the sea as refugees. In this model, they are a diaspora, a people who lost their land and, in a remarkable act of adaptation, made the ocean their new home. The other theory is that they were always a specialized maritime culture, a branch of the great Austronesian expansion, that, unlike the others who settled Polynesia or Madagascar, simply never stopped. They chose the ocean. They specialized in it, mastered it, and built a culture around it. Were they refugees from the land or masters of the sea? You look at the diver, now sorting his meager equipment. His powers are not an accident. They are his heritage. They are the living, breathing result of 1,000 years of living on the water. 1,000 years of children who learned to swim before they could walk. You're still watching the diver. He stowed the massive oyster in a wet burlap sack under his seat. He's already drinking some water from a plastic jug, seemingly unfazed, as if he just got back from a brisk walk. He is a product of his environment, a man literally shaped by the sea. But you can't become this. You, a land dweller, couldn't just decide to start a new career as a 200-foot deep pearl diver. You couldn't just train for this. Your body would break, your mind would shatter. So how does it happen? How do you forge a human being who can do this? The answer, you realize, is that you have to start them before they can even walk. You shift your gaze from the diver and look toward the coast, where you can just make out the blurry shape of his village. It's not on the coast, it's off the coast, a cluster of small structures standing on stilts, seemingly floating on the turquoise water. This is where the magic and the brutal conditioning begins. This is a Bajau stilt village, and this is where you witness a childhood that completely redefines the term free-range parenting. Forget baby-proofing the electrical sockets. Here, the entire world outside the front door is a 30-foot drop into the ocean, and that's exactly the point. The mainstream anthropological fact of a Bajau childhood is this: water is their first playground. It is their daycare, their school, and their church. Before a child can comfortably walk on the rickety, uneven planks of the village, they can swim. In fact, many can dive. It's a common sight to see a mother, busy with cooking or mending nets, simply toss her giggling, splashing toddler off the porch into the clear water below, where they'll paddle around with their older siblings. The children here don't have land legs. They have sea legs from the moment they're born, accustomed to the constant sway of a stilt house or a lepa-lepa boat. Learning to walk on the land of the village walkways comes after learning to be comfortable in the ocean. You watch them, a group of 5 or 6 kids, none of them older than 10, are playing a game. It looks like tag, but they are playing it in 3 dimensions. They dive off a platform, sleek and brown, and vanish, only to reappear 30 yards away, bursting from the surface with a shout. They are impossibly, absurdly at home in the water. They are like a pod of small, laughing otters. They aren't wearing goggles. They don't have fins. They just go. They dive down to the reef to spear small fish with tiny handmade tridents, or to hunt for shells. They spend so much time in the water that their hair is bleached to coppery by the sun and the salt. This leads to one of the most astonishing, quirky tidbits ever documented. A Swedish scientist, Anna Gislin, came to study these Scioto children and noticed something impossible. They could see underwater. Not just the blurry, mole-like ethingthotsopape vision you or I have when we open our eyes in a swimming pool. No, they could see with incredible, shocking clarity. She tested them and found they had an underwater visual acuity more than twice as good as any European child. How they were physically, actively accommodating their vision. They had learned to do something that ophthalmology textbooks said was impossible for humans. They could constrict their pupils to the size of a pinprick, to increase the depth of field and, at the same time, change the shape of their eye's lens, just like a camera focusing. They had, through nothing but a lifetime of practice, taught their eyes to see in a medium they were never designed for. This watery childhood is, predictably, the subject of a very emotional, very human debate. Anthropologists and humanitarian groups still argue whether this is a beautiful, idyllic childhood or a tragic, marginalized one. On one hand, you see children in perfect harmony with their environment, free from the constraints of digital screens and concrete playgrounds, learning profound ancient skills from their parents, deeply connected to nature. It's a back-to-basics childhood that a lot of stressed-out Western parents might actually envy. But there is a dark shadow to this romantic picture. Remember, these children are often stateless, a callback to their parents' ghost status. They have no access to formal education. There is no school in the stilt village. They have no access to hospitals, doctors, or dentists. That toothache, you wait for it to fall out. That bad cut, you hope the salt water cleans it. This idyllic life is also a life without a safety net, a life lived on the absolute margins of the modern world. Is this a choice to live in harmony with the sea, or is it a result of being systematically excluded from the land? Are these children free, or are they trapped? You watch a small boy, maybe 6 years old, dive off a plank. He hits the water without a splash and kicks down, 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 chasing a small, glittering fish. He stays down for what feels like a full minute. Your brain, still wired for land parenting, is screaming, "Pull him up, he's drowning." But nobody else in the village even glances over. He's fine, he's just playing. This is his world. He is the next generation. He is the boy who will one day pick up the heavy beton stone and take the elevator ride to the deep. You're back on the banca, the stilt village, a shimmering watercolor in the distance. The diver has been resting for maybe 20 minutes. He's had some water. He's recoiled the precious rope. The massive plate-sized oyster is tucked away. And now he reaches into a small insulated looking bag and pulls out a packet of boiled rice and a small, dried, salted fish. This is his lunch, and it's probably his first meal of the day. You, on the other hand, are already eyeing the high-fructose vitamin-fortified, chocolate-to-covered energy bar you packed, and you suddenly feel ridiculous. You've just watched a man perform a feat of athletic endurance that would make an Olympic triathlete pass out. He didn't just hold his breath, he did it at a depth that crushed his body, forcing it to perform a series of high-risk, high-energy, biological gymnastics, the blood shift, the spleen skis, the heart rate plunge. He did this multiple times. This kind of work, day in and day out, burns a monstrous number of calories. Not just from the physical exertion of hauling himself around the seabed, but from the simple, brutal act of thermoregulation. The water at 200 feet is cold, and his body is burning fuel like a blast furnace just to keep his core temperature from plummeting. So, what do you feed this biological high-performance engine? The mainstream nutritional fact is that the Bajau diet is one of the simplest, most potent, and least varied on Earth. It is the sea. They are, in the truest sense of the word, pescatarians, but not by choice. Their diet consists almost entirely of what they can pull from the reef: fish, squid, octopus, sea urchins, and shellfish. This provides a massive, constant supply of high-grade protein and, critically, omega-3 fatty acids. You know, the stuff that wellness gurus in California tell you to buy in expensive little gel caps. This diver is marinating in it. His entire cardiovascular system is lubed and protected by a diet that is almost unbelievably healthy in that one regard. But it's not just fish. The other staple, the thing that provides the raw combustible energy, is cassava. This is a starchy, tuberous root, a bit like a potato or a yam. They can't grow it on their stilt houses, so it's one of the main things they trade for on land. Swapping dried fish or sea cucumbers for sacks of this dense, heavy root. They'll boil it or grill it, and it provides the pure carbohydrate fuel needed to power their muscles. So, that's the menu. Fish and cassava. Cassava and fish. Sometimes for a treat, ... more fish. Maybe some sea urchin, roe, or uni, which they'll eat raw, straight from the shell. A briny, protein-packed jolt of energy. There is no processed sugar, no fast food, no additives, no neo-naranj cheese dust. It's a diet so clean, so paleo, it makes most modern health fads look hopelessly complicated and a little bit silly. And here's the quirky, counterintuitive tidbit. They often do their hardest work on an empty stomach. You'd think you'd want to carb load before a 200-foot dive. You'd want a big breakfast, right? Wrong. A full stomach is a disaster for a deep diver. The act of digestion, as we all know from that post-lunch food coma, pulls a huge amount of your blood supply into your stomach and intestines. But a diver needs that blood everywhere else. He needs it in his chest cavity to prevent his lungs from collapsing. Remember that blood shift? And he needs it in his brain to stay conscious. Diving on a full stomach is inefficient, deeply uncomfortable, and can even be dangerous. So, they practice a natural form of intermittent fasting. They wake, they dive, they work through the morning's best, tied on an empty, optimized system. Their first big meal, like the one the diver is eating now, comes after the most brutal work is done. This perfect diet, of course, is the subject of a massive medical debate. Medical nutritionists and anthropologists still argue whether the Bajau diet is the secret to their incredible longevity and cardiovascular health, or if it's a ticking time bomb of nutritional deficiencies. On one hand, studies have shown they have almost zero incidence of hypertension, heart disease, or type 2 diabetes. Their systems are models of cardiovascular perfection, but on the other hand, a diet of just fish and cassava is catastrophically low in certain essential land-based nutrients. Where is the vitamin C? Where are the B vitamins from leafy greens? Where is the fiber? This nutritional balancing act is a mystery. Are they getting these micronutrients from sources we haven't identified, like specific types of seaweed or algae? Or are their bodies adapted over 1,000 years, just better at operating without them? Is this the ultimate clean diet, or a long-term compromise that masks a different kind of malnutrition? The diver finishes his small, simple meal. He screws the cap back on his water jug. He is not thinking about his omega-3 intake or his carbohydrate window. He is just ... fueling the engine. His body is a machine that runs on the ocean, and he's just refilled the tank. He looks back out at the water, his eyes so accustomed to the glare, scanning the surface. The sun is high, the tide is right, his body is refueled. But to go back down, he needs more than just calories. He He needs to settle his spirit. He needs to talk to the owners of the deep. He's finished his meal of rice and fish. His body is refueled, a complex chemical engine ready for the next plunge. But a machine, you just turn the key. A human, especially one about to do something this dangerous, needs more. You can't just feed the body and ignore the mind, or, in this case, the soul. Before he dives again, he has to make sure he has permission. He has to bargain with the deep. You're a modern to 1st century person. You check the weather on an app. You check the tide charts. You look at data. The diver. He checks in with the spirits. This is the mainstream anthropological fact of his world. The Bajau are traditionally animists. This means that for them, the world is not just dead physical stuff. It's alive. Everything is alive. That strange-looking coral head. It has a spirit, a row. The current that tugs at the boat, that's a spirit. The deep, dark, cold place 200 feet down where the oysters live. That, most definitely, is a place of powerful, ancient spirits. The sea is not just a resource. It's a living, breathing, and often moody entity. You don't just go into your neighbor's house and take things from their coffee table. That's rude. And you definitely don't just drop into the home of the sea spirits and steal their prettiest, shiniest shelled pets without so much as a please or thank you. To do so is to invite bad luck. And bad luck in this world isn't misplacing your keys. It's your rope snapping. It's a sudden, blinding headache at 200 feet. It's a visit from the wrong kind of shark. It's the thoracic, the crippling pain of the bends. So before he dives, he performs a small, almost imperceptible ritual. He cups some seawater in his hand, splashes it on his face, and murmurs a few quiet words. It's a salam, a greeting. It's a request. I'm coming down. I mean no harm. I'm just here to feed my family. Please, allow me passage. Please, keep me safe. He's not just talking to the water. He's talking to everything. This is his spiritual life vest, his pre-dive check. It's a way of aligning his spirit, of reinforcing that calm, quiet heart that we talked about. Remember that? He's making peace with the sea, literally. You'd probably be checking your Instagram feed one last time, which, let's be honest, is its own kind of ritual for warding off the spirit of ... boredom. This belief system is deeply embedded, and for the big stuff, they call in a professional. This is the quirky, fascinating tidbit. The village has a dukin or bomo, a shaman. This individual is the village's spiritual mediator, the person who really knows how to talk to the spirits. If a diver is having a string of bad luck, no oysters, or a close call, he'll go to the shaman. If the village is building a new, important La Palapa boat, the shaman will come and bless it, smearing it with chicken, blood, and rice to appease the spirit of the wood and the spirit of the sea it will live on. Sometimes, the shaman will declare certain days, pantang or taboo. Do not dive today, he'll say. The spirits of the reef are angry, and no one, will dive. It doesn't matter if the sun is shining and the water is glass, the boss has spoken. This is a level of spiritual authority that your local weatherman, with all his Doppler radar, can only dream of. This entire framework of ritual and belief is, as you can imagine, a hotbed of academic debate. Anthropologists and sociologists still argue whether these intricate rituals are pure religious belief, or if they are a brilliant prescientific safety manual. Take the shaman who says, "Don't dive today." Is he really communing with the spirit world? Or is he a master naturalist who has spent 60 years observing this exact patch of water, and he's noticing a subtle, almost invisible shift in the current, or a change in the wind direction, that tells his experienced gut that a dangerous, unsurvivable squall is 5 hours away? Is the taboo against bragging about your catch a way to avoid offending the spirits? Or is it a clever socio-leveling mechanism to prevent jealousy and conflict in a small, communal society? Is the salam ritual just superstition? Or is it a critical, psychological tool, a form of self-hypnosis, a pre-dive meditation that forces the diver to find that essential life-saving calm to reset his mind and check his fear before he steps off the boat? Is religion just a cultural code word for this? Is the stuff that will keep you alive? The line is so blurry, it may as well not exist. The diver finishes his small, quiet moment. He's made his peace. He's asked for permission. He's spiritually and mentally cleared for the dive. He's ready. He picks up the heavy batong stone. He looks at his tendro, who nods. He's ready to go back to the office. But as he stands on the edge of the banka, you're suddenly acutely aware that the spirits he's worried about aren't the only inhabitants of the deep. He's just asked for protection. Now, he's about to go and find out if he got it. Because down in the deep, there are other, more tangible, and far more toothy bosses to worry about. He has made his peace. His spirit is quiet. He's ready. He picks up the batting stone, that heavy, smooth piece of basalt, his personal elevator. He gives his tendero the nod, takes that one last, deep, life-giving breath, and steps off the side. He vanishes, again, into the blue. A stream of bubbles marking his descent as the rope pays out. Zipping through his partner's hands, he's going back down, back to the crushing, silent 200-foot-deep office. But as you watch him go, your own brain, that over-analytical to one-century land-dweller's brain, is running a different kind of checklist. His rituals were to appease the spirits, but you're thinking about the physical tenets of the deep, the ones with teeth. Because let's be very, very clear. This is not a chlorinated, sterile swimming pool. This is the Sulu Sea, a critical part of the Coral Triangle, which is one of the most biodiverse and therefore most predatory marine ecosystems on Earth. This is the mainstream toothy fact of the matter. This area is absolutely packed with sharks. And we're not talking about the small, gentlemanly reef sharks you might see on a tourist dive. We are talking about the big, serious alist predators. Tiger sharks, bull sharks. Both are notoriously curious, famously aggressive, and have absolutely no moral qualms about sampling a slow-moving, unprotected mammal flailing around in their kitchen. And here is this diver, a 5-foot-something piece of meat dangling from a rope with no cage, no chainmail, no shark shield device. He doesn't even have a pointy stick. He is, by any objective measure, a perfect, bite-sized hors d'oeuvre. And yet, he dives 10, 20, 30 times a day. The divers know the sharks are there. They see them. They are, quite literally, their downstairs neighbors. But they hold a perspective that you and I, raised on a steady cinematic diet of Jaws, simply cannot compute. The sharks are not monsters. They are just part of the system. They are the real owners of the deep, the bosses of the reef. The divers respect them, they give them a wide berth, and they rely on their rituals, call back to ensure that this respect is mutual. Most of the time, the sharks are simply not interested. They are looking for seals or sea turtles or sick fish. A weird, skinny, bubbleless creature walking on the seabed is just ... part of the furniture. Until it's not. Attacks are rare, but they happen. It's a roll of the dice. Every single dive. But as you float in the imaginary deep, watching the diver begin his lunar walk across the seabed, you realize there is a far more terrifying, far more intimate, and far more certain predator hunting him. It's not the shark, it's his own body. It's the laws of physics. It's the invisible, silent killer that we worried about on his ascent. The divers have a name for it. It's the most feared word in their language. They call it Tarasic. This is the quirky and absolutely chilling tidbit. Tarasic is their local, specific word for the constellation of horrors that we call decompression sickness, DCS, or the bends. To them, it's not a law of physics. It's not Henry's law. It is a sickness, a curse, a malevolent force from the sea itself. It's what happens when the spirits are angry. It's what happens when you dive on a taboo day, or when you've been greedy, or when your heart wasn't quiet. It is the sea's revenge. It's the invisible hand that reaches out and cripples you. It starts, they say, as an ant crawler tingling in the fingers and toes. Then it becomes a fire in the joints, a pain so deep and agonizing, it's like someone is hammering hot nails into your bones. Then comes the blindness, or the paralysis. You break the surface, you gasp for air, and you feel ... fine. And then, 10 minutes later, you collapse on the floor of your stilt house, unable to move your legs, and you may never move them again. This is Tarasic. It's why you see so many older divers in the village who walk with a limp, or who are confined to a mat. Their diving days over, their bodies broken by the deep. They are the living victims of Tarasic. This, of course, is the center of the darkest debate of all. Medical anthropologists and physiologists still argue whether Tarasic is simply a one-to-one cultural translation for acute textbook decompression sickness, or if it's something more complex and cumulative. The DCS model is simple. The diver came up too fast, which he always does, remember? And nitrogen bubbles fizzed in his spine. Game over. He lost his bet with Henry's law. But another, more disturbing theory suggests that what the Bajau called thoracic isn't just the bends, it's a folk diagnosis that covers all Defy-related neurological damage. This theory argues that the real killer isn't just the nitrogen, it's the hypoxia. It's the cumulative microscopic brain and spinal cord damage from a lifetime of starving your nervous system of oxygen. 30,000 dives, 30,000 times your brain has been on the ragged edge of blackout. 30,000 times your spleen has had to punch you with that last-second ode to jolt. Does a person walk away from that? neurologically ... intact? The proponents of this theory argue that the paralysis of thoracic isn't always a bubble-induced stroke. It's a long, slow, creeping death of a million nerve cells, a chronic hypoxic nightmare that finally, one day, just adds up. Down in the blue-grey twilight, the diver is oblivious to your academic anxiety. He's just working. He is walking a tightrope. Below him, the shark; inside him, the thoracic. He's hunting for his family, and in turn, he is being hunted by the very physics that allow him to be there. He spots another one, a big pink Tata Maxima. He pries it loose. He bags it. He finds his rope. He gives the 3 sharp tugs. The ascent begins. He is, once again, racing the bubbles. He's back on the banca again. That's 2 dives, 2 massive oysters. They join the first one in the wet burlap sack. It's a good haul, a solid day's work. The diver is resting, drinking his water, and you're struck by the economics of it all. He has just risked his life-battled pressure, hypoxia, nitrogen, and sharks real or spiritual, for what? A handful of cash at the local market. A few bags of rice and cassava for his family. It seems like a wildly imbalanced equation. The risk is catastrophic. The reward, you assume, is just ... survival. But to understand why he takes this risk, why his ancestors took this risk, you have to stop thinking about this oyster as a local commodity. You have to zoom out, way out. Not just in space, but in time. That 10-pound shell in the burlap sack isn't just food, and it's not just a local curiosity. It is the engine of a global luxury trade that is over 1,000 years old. Let's leave the diver for a moment, letting him rest, and let's follow the journey of a pearl. Not from today, but from, say, the year 1208. You're standing on the shore of a port in the Sulu Sultanate. It's hot, humid, and impossibly crowded. The air smells of salt, dried fish, tropical flowers, and the sharp, unfamiliar incense burning at a small shrine. The harbor is a forest of masts, but these aren't the small banca outriggers. These are massive, towering ships. You see the unmistakable, battened red silk sails of a Chinese junk, a true treasure fleet vessel, its high stern bristling with flags. Next to it, you see the elegant triangular lateen sail of an Arab dhow. Its hull built, not with nails, but with planks sewn together with coconut koi rope. This is the mainstream historical fact. The Philippines, and specifically the Sulu Zone, was not an isolated, undiscovered cluster of islands. It was a critical, bustling cosmopolitan hub in a global trade network that connected the Pacific to the Indian Ocean, and the Indian Ocean to the Mediterranean. And what were these powerful merchant empires? The Song dynasty of China and the caliphates of the Middle East, sailing halfway across the known world to get it. They were here for spices, for exotic woods, for birds' nests. But most of all, they were here for perlas, the golden, perfect, massive pearls of the pink Tata Maxima. Long before Columbus or Magellan ever got lost, Bajau divers, the ancestors of the man in your boat, were the source of one of the most prized luxury goods on Earth. They weren't paid in money. They were paid in goods that were, to them, just as valuable. Blades of strong Chinese iron, gorgeous, durable porcelain bowls, glittering glass beads from Arabia, and bolts of fine dyed silk. This was a true peer-to-peer global exchange. But here's the quirky and slightly bizarre tidbit about this trade. Where did these pearls go? We think of jewelry, and sure, that was part of it. A sultan in Baghdad or a caliph in Cairo would have the most perfect pearls sewn into his turban or the hilt of his scimitar as the ultimate, unfakeable sign of wealth. But in China, the best pearls were not for wearing, they were for eating. Yes, eating. The most flawless, lustrous pearls were ground down into an iridescent, shimmering white powder. This powder was a key ingredient in the most exclusive, high-end traditional Chinese medicine. It was believed to cure fevers, calm the heart, clear the skin, and brighten the eyes. An aging, fabulously wealthy mandarin, or a favored imperial consort, might literally drink a pearl slurry as a kind of ancient, absurdly expensive wellness smoothie. It makes our modern obsession with kale and collagen look positively working class. This ancient globe-spanning trade is, of course, the subject of a fierce debate. Historians and archaeologists still argue whether this was a truly fair trade, or if it was just the first chapter of colonial exploitation. One side argues that the local rulers, the datas and the sultans of Sulu, were savvy, powerful players. They held a total monopoly on the pearl beds, controlled the divers, and expertly played the Chinese and Arab merchants against each other, amassing fantastic wealth and building powerful kingdoms on the backs of their divers. In this model, they were the true masters of the trade. The other side, however, suggests that the local rulers were just middlemen, and that they and their divers were getting fleeced. This theory argues that the foreign merchants who knew the real market value of a pearl back in Beijing or Baghdad were paying a pittance. That priceless porcelain bowl they traded for 10 perfect pearls. They had tens of thousands of them back on the ship. They were trading a mass-produced industrial good for an irreplaceable Bajau gem. In this model, the exploitation of the Bajau diver didn't start with the Europeans. It was a core part of the business model from day one. You look back at your boat. The diver is checking the small diesel engine's fuel line. He is the last living link in this thousand-year-old chain. He is the inheritor of a tradition that built empires, funded sultans, and ended up as a cosmetic face cream for an empress. For a millennium, his ancestors were at the very bottom of this glittering pyramid of wealth. And for all that time, the system worked. The trade ebbed and flowed, the datas got rich, the merchants came and went, the divers dove. And then, one day, a new sail appeared on the horizon. It wasn't a junk, it wasn't a dhow, it was a Spanish galleon. And they weren't here to trade porcelain. They were here for God, for glory, and for gold. But they would settle, very, very happily, for pearls. The system was about to break. Awaiting continue_E, that new sail on the horizon. It's not a junk or a dhow. Remember those, it's not here to trade. It's a Spanish galleon, a Castillo del Mar, a castle on the sea. It's a floating fortress of high, thick-timbered walls, bristling with the dark iron mouths of cannons. And the men on board are not merchants looking for a good deal on pearl powder for their empress callback. They are conquistadors and friars. A deadly combination. They've crossed the world for God, glory, and gold. And they have just discovered that the sea here is full of a silvery white gold. You do want even have to mine, force someone else to stop breathing for it. You've jumped forward in time to the 17th century. The Spanish have claimed these islands, naming them Las Filipinas after their king, Philip II, and they have an insatiable, obsessive, almost pathological lust for perlas to the Spanish crown. They are a direct, liquid source of royal revenue, right up there with the silver from the mines of Potosi. This is the mainstream historical fact of the colonial era. The arrival of the Spanish transformed the pearl trade from a high-end luxury exchange into a brutal, systematized, feudal industry of extraction. They brought with them the encomienda system. It was a royal grant given to a loyal soldier or colonial official. He wasn't granted land per se. He was granted the people on it. He was given the right to the tribute and, more importantly, the labor of all the indigenous people living in a certain area. In the pearl-rich waters of the Sulu region, this was a death sentence. The diver, who was once an independent specialist, a respected artisan who dove with the tides and the omens, was now ... property. He was a resource, no different from the oyster he hunted. Suddenly, he has a quota. A poblador, or a capitan with a steel helmet and a musket, is standing on the shore, and he doesn't care about the Pantang taboo days. He doesn't care about the diver's quiet heart. He cares about a manifest. He needs a certain weight of pearls and mother-of-pearl shells by the end of the week. The divers are forced to go down more often, in worse weather, in rougher seas. They are forced to dive deeper, to push their bodies past the point of thoracic callback, past the point of hypoxia, past the point of return. The number of crippling, paralyzing Ben's cases and the number of divers who simply never came back up must have skyrocketed. This wasn't diving, this was slavery at 200 feet. This leads to a darkly bureaucratic and quirky tidbit: the quinto real, or the royal fifth. The Spanish crown, ever present and ever greedy, demanded a flat 20% tax on all precious goods recovered from the New World. All the gold, all the silver, all the emeralds, ... and all the pearls. You have to picture the scene. A local Spanish governor, who has just terrorized the local villages and forced the divers to produce a chest full of pearls at the cost of their own lives, now has to sit down and sort them. He has to pick out the 20 best pearls from every 100 and set them aside for a king in Madrid. A king he will never see. This, naturally, led to spectacular high-stakes corruption. Governors would hide the best pearls. They'd underreport the haul. They'd swap out the perfect, lustrous orbs for the lumpy, second-rate ones. It was a system of theft built on a system of slavery. The Bajau diver risked his life for a pearl that his captain then risked his career to hide from his king. And where did these pearls go? Many, of course, went to the Spanish nobility, set into the crowns and ruffs of the royal family. But the vast, vast majority went to the church. They were sewn into the heavy golden vestments of archbishops, encrusted onto solid gold chalices, and, most famously, used to form the shimmering, teardrop-adorned robes of statues of the Virgin Mary. The divers' hypoxic, bone-crushing, nitrogen-fizzing battle in the deep ended as a decorative teardrop on a wooden statue in a cold cathedral in Seville. But there is a major bloody asterisk on this whole story. Historians and military scholars still argue fiercely over how much control the Spanish ever actually had in these southern waters. The maps in Madrid showed Las Filipinas as a neat, conquered territory. The reality on the water was ... chaos. This region, the Sulu archipelago, was the heartland of the Sulu Sultanate, a powerful, wealthy, and fiercely independent Muslim state. The Spanish called them Moros Moors, the same name they used for their century-old Muslim enemies in North Africa. For 300 years, the Spanish and the Moros were locked in a brutal, continuous, back-and-forth war. The Spanish would send their navy down to pacify the region. The Sulu and Bajau warriors, who were the single greatest light naval force in the region, would respond by raiding Spanish-held towns in the northern Philippines, burning settlements and taking captives. So, was the diver in your boat a colonized subject suffering under the encomienda system? Or was he an independent warrior diver, loyal to his sultan, whose pearling was now part of a war economy to fund the resistance? The truth is, it was a mix of both. In some areas, the Spanish won and imposed their brutal quotas. In others, the Sultanate held fast. And the pearls were sold to the other enemies of Spain: the Dutch, the English, and the Chinese, to buy muskets and cannon. The pearl was no longer just a luxury. It was a bullet. It was an engine of war. This new, militarized, brutalized system was the new normal, and it would only get more efficient when the next flag showed up. The brutal 300-year stalemate between the Spanish and the Moros callback finally breaks. But not because one side won, it breaks because a new, much bigger player just stepped onto the stage. The year is 1898. You hear the distant thunder of cannons, but they're not the familiar Spanish iron. These are the modern high-velocity shells of the American Asiatic Squadron, the Spanish-American War. It's a short, splendid little war, and just like that, the Spanish flag comes down and the American one goes up. The encomienda is over. The quinto real is abolished. The friars are gone. For the Bajau diver, it must have seemed like a moment of liberation. The 300-year war is over. Peace has come. But peace just means a new kind of management. The Americans who arrive in the southern Philippines are not conquistadors obsessed with religious conversion and feudal tribute. They are businessmen, they are engineers, they are venture capitalists from Boston and New York. And they see the Sulu Sea not as a den of Moro pirates, but as a massively underdeveloped, inefficiently managed, and spectacularly valuable resource. They are here to industrialize it. This is the mainstream historical fact of the early 20th century, the rise of the great American pearl. They were patrons with a ledger book and a steamship. They didn't request pearls from a local dotu. They built their own fleets. They financed the construction of dozens, sometimes hundreds, of bunkers as they hired the best divers, the most experienced tendros, and put them all on a payroll. They introduced efficiency. They brought in standardized equipment. While they didn't introduce full-in dive helmets, that was for Japanese divers elsewhere. They did bring in larger quantities of better gear, like rubber-sealed goggles, which were a small but significant step up from the hand-carved wooden ones callback. They organized the bancas into grids, sweeping the purling beds with a methodical, ruthless precision that the Spanish, with their chaotic, war-torn system, could never have managed. They built warehouses and sorting facilities in ports like Bajau, creating a direct high-speed pipeline of pearls and shells from the Sulu seabed to the jewelry houses of Fifth Avenue. This new, highly organized system created a new and just as insidious form of control. This is the quirky, grim tidbit of the American era: debt peonage. The diver was free, he was an employee, he wasn't a slave, but he had no money. So, the patron, the American Pearl King, or his local Filipino or Chinese manager, would advance him his supplies. You need rice for your family for the week? No problem. I'll advance it to you from the company store. You need a new rope, new goggles, medicine for your child. Here you go. It's all just an advance against your next catch. Do you see the trap? The patron set the price for the rice, and the patron set the price for the pearls. The diver, who was often illiterate and had no concept of global market rates, would bring up a sack of prize-winning oysters. The patron would weigh them. Not a great haul. The market's down. This is worth ... this much. He would then consult his ledger. And after I deduct the rice, the water, the fuel, and the rope you took, it looks like, oh dear, it looks like you're still 20 pesos in debt to me. Better luck next week. The diver was a free man who was fundamentally, permanently, and inescapably owned. He was no longer a slave to a soldier. He was a debtor to a corporation. This shift from feudalism to capitalism is naturally the source of a major debate. Historians and economists still argue whether the American industrial system was ultimately better or worse for the Bajau diver. One side argues that, while exploitative, it was a massive improvement. It brought stability. The 300-year moral wars were over. The patron system, for all its evils, did ensure the diver's family got fed, even if the haul was bad. It brought a semblance of law and order and infrastructure, however serving. It was a brutal form of capitalism, but it was better than the brutal feudalism of the Spanish. The other side argues it was far, far worse. They argue it was a more efficient, more dehumanizing, and more total system of exploitation. It stripped the diver of his last shreds of autonomy, turning him from a warrior artisan into an interchangeable cog in a global commodities machine. This new industrial efficiency also meant they were emptying the sea at an alarming rate. The oyster beds, which had sustained 1,000 years of diving, were being liquid. The patrons were killing the golden goose, and they were using the diver to do it. For a few golden decades, from about 1900 to the 1930s, this system boomed. Fortunes were made. The Pearl Kings of Bajau were fabulously wealthy. The pearls and shells flowed out in an endless stream. This new high-efficiency model was working too well. But it wasn't the Terrasic callback, or the sharks, or even the eventual depletion of the oyster beds that would bring this entire centuries-old industry crashing to its knees. It was a new, revolutionary idea from a different island nation, Japan. And it all started with a simple question. What if you did, you'd have to find the pearl? What if ... you could make it? The whole system is booming. The Pearl Kings callback are getting rich. The patrons are running their ledgers. And the divers are stuck in that endless, crushing cycle of debt and descent. And it's all built on the pearl. The perla, that perfect, lustrous, golden orb, destined for the neck of a Vanderbilt or the crown of a king. That's the story, right? That's what this is all about. Except ... it's not. Not really. We've been focusing on the wrong thing. We've been staring at the shiny, glittering, sexy part of the story, and we've missed the real driving engine of the whole industry. You're obsessed with the diamond. You're ignoring the mine. The pearl, as it turns out, was just the lottery ticket. It was the glamorous, high-stakes jackpot that might be inside. The real, steady, guaranteed, day-in, day-out money. The thing that paid the bills, funded the fleets, and kept the entire industrial machine churning. It was the shell. Yes, the 10-pound dinner plate the oyster came in. The shell itself, the Pinctada Maxima's home, was the real prize. This is the mainstream historical and economic fact that gets lost in all the romance. The shell is lined with that thick, iridescent, golden-hued nacre. We call it mother of pearl. And in the late 19th and early 20th century, before the invention of plastic, Mother of pearl was a foundational industrial commodity. It was the ivory of the sea, a beautiful, durable, and versatile material. What was it used for? What wasn't it used for? If you were a person of any means, in 1910, you were covered in it. The gleaming, iridescent buttons on your waistcoat or your blouse carved from a gold-lipped shell. The handle of your fancy pocket knife, mother of pearl. The inlay on your mahogany furniture, mother of pearl. The keys on your piano or your accordion, mother of opera glasses, jewelry boxes, ornate hair combs, gun grips, caviar spoons, ... It was everywhere. It was the ubiquitous material of luxury, and the Sulu Sea was its single greatest source. Finding a perfect round tenthazandalar pearl was a miracle. It happened, maybe 1 in 1,000 oysters. It was a bonus. A diver could work for months and never find one. But every single oyster he brought up callback had a 10-pound, dinner platter-sized shell. The patron in Bajau wasn't just hoping for pearls. He was guaranteeing a shipment of mother of pearl. The pearls went to Tiffany's. The shells, by the ton, went to the button factories of America, England, and France. The diver, risking his life, wasn't just a jeweler's assistant. He was primarily a button-blank harvester. It's a little less romantic, isn't it? He braved the 200-foot deep, nitrogen-filled abyss, ... for my cufflink. This leads to a truly bizarre and quirky tidbit. One of the most unique markets for these massive shells, huge quantities of the largest, most perfect gold-lipped shells were shipped from the Philippines all the way to Bethlehem. Yes, that Bethlehem, in the Holy Land. Why, in the late 19th century, Bethlehem became the global center for a very specific, very popular tourist art, intricately carved mother-of-pearl religious scenes. Local artisans would take a massive pink Tada Maxima shell, using its natural concave, bow-like shape, and carve the entire nativity scene into it, or the Last Supper, or the Crucifixion. These incredibly detailed, shimmering, iridescent dioramas were the single most popular souvenir for wealthy European and American pilgrims on their grand tours of the Holy Land. So you have a Bajau diver in the Sulu Sea, risking Tarasic, who finds a shell that is shipped to Palestine, carved by an Arab Christian artist and sold to a Victorian English tourist, ... who then puts it on his mantelpiece in London. The global economy has always been a weird place. This dual market system, of course, is the heart of a major economic debate. Historians still argue whether the real money for the Pearl Kings was in the pearls or the shell. Was the entire shell industry just a way to break even, a way to fund the massive, speculative, high-stakes gamble for the pearls? In this model, the shells paid for the boats, the fuel, and the divers' meager advances, and the pearls were 100% pure profit. The house was playing with its own money. Or was it the other way around? Was the shell industry the real business, a steady, reliable, multi-million-dollar commodities market? And the pearls were just a cherry on top, a marketing gimmick used to romanticize the industry and keep the divers motivated. Keep diving, boys. The next one might be the big one. All while the patron is quietly signing a contract for 50 tons of raw shell with a button manufacturer in New Jersey. The truth is, it was a perfectly symbiotic and perfectly exploitative system. The shells provided the cash flow, the pearls provided the get-rich-quick fantasy. You look at the two shells in the sack, they are dull gray and encrusted on the outside. But you know that inside, they are pure, shimmering, golden light. They are buttons, they are knife handles. They are maybe a tiny lottery ticket. For this, the diver goes down. For this, the system works. But the system is about to meet its match. A Japanese man, a noodle show pounder's son named Mikimoto, has been obsessing over these very oysters, and he has just figured out the oyster's biggest secret. The system is at its absolute peak. It's the 1920s and early 30s, and the Pearl King machine callback is humming. The steamships are full, the patrons are happy, and the ledgers are balanced. The divers are locked in their cycle of debt, descending day after day, bringing up tons of mother-of-pearl, 4 buttons, 4 inlay, for those weird Bethlehem dioramas, remember? And the occasional, priceless lottery ticket pearl. The industry seems unshakable. It has survived sultans, wars, and conquistadors. It's a 1,000-year-led enterprise. What could possibly stop it? The answer isn't a new empire. It's not a new war. It's a new idea. and it comes from Japan, from a man named Kokichi Mikimoto. Mikimoto was not a diver. He wasn't a pearl king. He was the son of a humble noodle shop owner, and he was obsessed with oysters. He wasn't obsessed with finding them, he was obsessed with understanding them. He spent years of his life to the point of bankruptcy and public ridicule, trying to answer one simple, revolutionary question. Why does an oyster make a pearl in the first place? This is the mainstream biological fact that would bring a global industry to its knees. A natural pearl is an accident. It's a beautiful, lucky, billion-tune mistake. It's not, as many people thought, a dewdrop from the moon or a tear of a god. It's an immune response. A grain of sand, a tiny parasite, a speck of coral debris, some foreign irritants lodged deep inside the oyster's soft, delicate body, its mantle tissue. The oyster, unable to expel the intruder, does the only thing it can to protect itself. It begins to entomb it. It secretes layer after layer of nacre, the same shimmery, hard substance that lines its shell on the irritant, smoothing it over, neutralizing the threat. A pearl, therefore, is just a magnificent, iridescent, perfectly spherical scar. Mikimoto's genius was to realize, if the pearl is just a response to an irritant, why wait for the accident? Why not ... cause it? After decades of ruinous, painstaking failure, he finally perfected his technique. This is the invention that changed the world, the cultured pearl. His team learned to become surgeons. They would farm the oysters, gently pry them open, and with the precision of a brain surgeon, make a tiny incision in the mantle. They would then insert two things: a small, perfectly round nucleus, often a bead made from a different mollusk shell, and a tiny sliver of mantle tissue from a donor oyster, the secret sauce that tells the host oyster to start secreting nacre. Then, they would gently put the oyster back in its cage, lower it into the sea, and ... Wait, they didn't hunt pearls, they grew them. They were oyster ranchers. This, as you can imagine, caused a full-blown pearl-clutching panic in the jewelry world. This is the quirky, hilarious tidbit. The established houses Cartier Timpanis, the natural pearl dealers, were horrified. They launched a full-scale PR war, denouncing Mikimoto's pearls as fakes, frauds, and unnatural abominations. They claimed they were deceiving the public. They were just glass beads with a coat of paint. The snobbery was thick. Mikimoto, in a legendary PR move of his own, famously held a public ceremony where he burned a massive pile of his own imperfect cultured pearls, just to prove to the world that they were, in fact, 100% real nacre, through and through. They weren't fake, they were just assisted. The economic impact was not immediate, but when it hit, it was an apocalypse. Why would a jeweler in New York pay $100,000 for a single, maybe-flawed, life-threateningly natural pearl from Sulu when they could buy a perfectly matched strand of flawless, round, gorgeous, cultured pearls from Mikimoto's farms for a tenth of the price? The natural pearl market didn't just decline, it evaporated. It fell off a cliff. The pearl kings were finished. The bottom fell out of their entire business model. This is the central debate. Economists and cultural historians still argue whether Mikimoto democratized luxury or destroyed an ancient world. One side argues he was a hero. He made the pearl, once the exclusive symbol of royalty and dynastic wealth, accessible to the average middle-class woman. He broke the back of the brutal, exploitative debt peonage system callback that was literally killing the Bajau divers. He liberated them by making their deadly job obsolete. But the other side of the argument is much, much darker. He didn't liberate the diver, he ruined him. The diver's entire thousand-year-old economic value was tied to this one unique, superhuman skill. The cultured pearl made that skill, that entire culture of expertise, worthless. And, just to add insult to injury, the invention of cheap, durable, colorful plastic in the 1940s and 50s did the exact same thing to the mother-of-pearl market. The button factories didn't need shells anymore. They had plastic. In the span of a single generation, both pillars of the diver's economy, the jackpot pearl and the steady paycheck shell, were wiped out. Gone. The patrons abandoned their fleets. The warehouses in Holo rotted. The pearl kings packed their bags. And the diver, who had survived sultans, conquistadors, and Terozic, was left floating in his banca, holding a skill that the world no longer wanted to pay for. The patrons are gone. The Pearl Kings are a footnote in a history book callback. The button factories have moved on to cheap, colorful plastic. The pearl, that engine of empires, has been democratized by a Japanese noodle shop owner's son callback. The entire 1,000-year-old economic reason for the diver's existence has evaporated in a single generation. His superhuman lift-risking skill is now, in the eyes of the global market, worthless. He is an artifact, a relic of a bygone world. So who is this new person, sitting in the stilt house with him? This person is not a capitan with a musket. He's not a patron with a ledger book. This woman, pale and earnest, is wearing a university t-shirt and has a laptop balanced on her knees. She's not here to buy pearls. She's not here to offer him a loan. She is here to ask him to ... spit into a tube. The diver, who has faced down sharks and the crushing, silent physics of the deep, now finds himself face with the most modern of all explorers, the geneticist. This is the mainstream scientific fact of the 21st century. The Sama Bajau, now economically marginalized, have become biologically fascinating. As their ancient way of life is fading, scientists are racing to study them, not as an anthropological curiosity, but as a living, breathing, walking example of human evolution in action. You're sitting in on a field study. You see the high-tech, portable ultrasound machine, the same kind used in advanced hospitals, now plugged into a humming portable generator. The scientist is showing the diver a grainy black and white image on the screen. "See this?" she says, pointing. "This is your spleen." And she is looking at it with a kind of awe, because, as we discussed callback, section 7, his spleen is enormous. It's 50% larger than a normal human spleen. It's his internal oxygen-boosting scuba tank. For decades, scientists assumed this was a training adaptation, the same way a weightlifter's muscles grow. They assumed his watery childhood and a lifetime of diving had simply enlarged the organ. But this scientist, Dr. Melissa Illardo, and her team from the University of Copenhagen had a different, more radical hypothesis: what if it was in his genes. This is where you see the small plastic tubes. The team is taking saliva samples. They are swabbing the cheeks of the divers, and, crucially, they are also taking samples from their land-dwelling neighbors, the Bajau, who settled on the islands generations ago and became farmers. They are creating a control group. They are hunting for a genetic marker. They are looking for the superpower code. And here is the quirky and absolutely revolutionary tidbit. They found it. They found the smoking gun. When they analyzed the DNA, they isolated a specific gene that was present in the diving Sama Bajau, but not in their farming caissons. The gene is called PDE10A. This gene is known to help regulate thyroid hormone. And why does that matter? Because thyroid hormone is precisely what controls the size of the spleen. The Sama Bajau, it turns out, have a genetic mutation that naturally, from birth, gives them the potential for a supersized spleen. This was a bombshell in the world of evolutionary biology. This was not training. This was selection. This was, for the first time, a clear, documented case of human adaptation to an extreme environment written directly into our DNA. For 1,000 years, the divers with the slightly larger spleens, thanks to this gene, could dive a little deeper, stay down a little longer, get a few more pearls, and were slightly more likely to survive, thrive, and pass that good gene on to their children. You're looking at the living, breathing result of a 1,000-year-long genetic experiment. This discovery, of course, has not settled the debate. It has just changed its terms. Geneticists and physiologists now argue about what this means. Is the PDE10A gene the only adaptation? Is that it? Does big spleen gene equals superdiver? Or is it, as many suspect, just the first piece of the puzzle they've found, the most obvious one? What about their unique dive reflex? Callback. What about their mental calm? Callback. What about their incredible underwater vision? Callback. Are there other genes? A whole suite of genetic upgrades that we just haven't found yet. And this ignites the old nature versus nurture argument in a whole new way. Is it the gene that makes the diver? Or is it that the gene allows the diver's brutal, lifelong water-riddled training to be so spectacularly effective? The gene gives him the hardware, but the lifestyle provides the software. Without the gene, the training might kill him. But without the training, the gene would just sit there, a dormant piece of code for a big spleen, a useless, unactivated superpower. The diver spits into the tube. The scientist screws the cap on her hands, which are so clean, labeling it with a Sharpie. He is being paid a small fee for his time, for his DNA. His ancestors were a labor commodity. He is now a genetic commodity. He has traded his oyster shell for a test tube, still a resource for an outside world that is fascinated by him, but has no use for his actual skill. The geneticist is packing up her gear. The precious saliva samples, full of smoking gun genes like PDE 108 callback, are placed carefully into a cooled container. The portable ultrasound machine is folded away. She thanks the diver, pays him his small fee, and she's gone. She is on her way back to a high-tech lab in Copenhagen or Stanford, where she will write a groundbreaking paper about human evolution, and the diver, is left sitting on his banca. He is a biological marvel. He is a walking, breathing piece of evolutionary proof. He is, by any scientific measure, a superhuman. So, you think he must be the greatest diver in the world, right? If he's genetically adapted for this, he must be able to blow every record, every competitor, out of the water. This is where you have to meet the other kind of superhuman, the modern elite, competitive freediver. And this is where the story gets really, really weird. You're now at the vertical blue competition in the Bahamas, at a place called Dean's Blue Hole. This is the Olympics, the World Cup, and the Tour de France of freediving, all rolled into one. The people here are not fishing for their lunch. They are athletes, in the most extreme sense of the word. This is the mainstream fact of the other diving world. The athletes are sleek, powerful, and look like they were designed in a lab. They are wearing custom-fitted hydrodynamic wetsuits that are so smooth they look like liquid skin. On their feet, they wear a single, massive monofin, a carbon fiber blade that looks like a whale's tail, allowing them to dolphin-kick their way into the deep with incredible power and efficiency. Their entire lives are dedicated to this. They have coaches, they have nutritionists, they have sports psychologists, they practice yoga and advanced meditation to master their dive reflex callback. They train for months, tapering their bodies, optimizing their blood oxygen levels, all for one single, perfect dive. On competition day, they have a massive team of safety divers, scub-equipped, waiting for them at various depths. They have medical staff with pure oxygen waiting at the surface. Their one alornithing dive to 100, maybe 120 meters over 350 feet will last 4 to 5 minutes. And when they surface, they will often black out from the hypoxia and are revived by their team. It is an incredible high-tech, high-risk, single-shot athletic performance. Now, compare that to the man in the banca. He's wearing torn shorts. He has hand-carved wooden goggles. His fin is a 30-pound rock. His safety team is one guy in the boat holding a rope, and he's not doing it once. He's doing it 20 times a day. This is the natural mismatch. This is where the whole comparison breaks down. When elite world champion freedivers have been brought out to meet the Bajau, they come with a deep, profound respect. And when they try to do what the Bajau do, they fail utterly. A world champion freediver who can hold his breath for 8 minutes in a swimming pool cannot do 2,200-foot deep dives in a single afternoon. He can do one, and then ... he's done. He's exhausted. His body, tuned for that single perfect performance, cannot handle the repetition. It can't handle the grind. He's not adapted for the work. Here's the quirky, technical tidbit that separates them. Packing. Modern freedivers, to get that one, massive record-breaking breath, will use a technique called buccal pumping, or packing. After they've inhaled until their lungs are 100% full, they will keep going. They use their cheeks and tongue to sip more air, like a frog, and force it, pack it, into their already full lungs, sometimes increasing their lung volume by another 30%. It's an aggressive, uncomfortable, and slightly dangerous hack to supersaturate their system. The Bajau diver, he doesn't pack. He doesn't need to. He just takes one deep, calm breath and ... drops his entire system. From his 50% larger spleen to his optimized dive reflex to his impossibly calm mind is so efficient, so natural, that he doesn't need the hack. He's the natural analog version. The modern athlete is the augmented, digital, overclocked version. This, of course, is the heart of a fascinating debate. Sports scientists and physiologists still argue whether the Bajau superiority is in their depth or their repetition. Who is the better diver? Well, it's like asking, what's a better vehicle, a Formula One car or a 4x4 pickup truck? It's a stupid question. They are designed for two completely different and incompatible purposes. The F1 car, the elite athlete, can hit 220 miles per hour on a perfect smooth track, once. The pickup truck, the Bajau, can haul a ton of cargo over a rocky, muddy, roadless mountain, all day, every day, and never break down. The elite athlete is, by the numbers, a deeper diver. But the Bajau is, without question, the greatest marine forager on Earth. He is the master of the working dive. His body is not a high-strung race car. It's an all-terrain, high-efficiency, biological engine built for one thing: endurance. His adaptations are not for sport, they are for life. They are the product of 1,000 years of work. And it's this very 1,000-year-old adaptation that is now the subject of the final and most pressing debate of all. So, he's the pickup truck, not the F1 car. Callback, he's the ultimate biological endurance machine, a high-efficiency, all-terrain, working diver. The sleek, carbon-fiber-clad Olympic athlete Callback can hit a deeper single-shot record, but he can't do the work. He can't run the marathon. He can't haul the cargo day in and day out. The Bajau diver is, without question, the greatest marine forager on the planet. And this, right here, is the final, fundamental, and most fiercely debated question of all. It's the one that has the geneticists, the anthropologists, the physiologists, and the historians all sitting at the same table arguing over the last of the lukewarm coffee. The question is, what made him? Is he a product of his genes? Or is he a product of his culture? Is this a story about nature, written in the double helix of his DNA? Or is this a story about nurture, carved into him by a lifetime of training and tradition? This is the mainstream scientific debate, and it's a heavyweight fight. In this corner, Camp A Team Nature, these are the geneticists. They hold up their plastic tubes of saliva. They point to their smoking gun. Callback, Section 21. They say, look at the data. He has the PDE10A gene, the gene that is proven to regulate the thyroid, which is proven to control the size of the spleen. His 50% larger spleen is not a training effect. It's a genetic inheritance. This is classic textbook natural selection. For 1,000 years, the divers with this big spleen gene could stay down longer, get more food, and were more likely to survive and have kids. The divers without it, well, they didn't. This is evolution. He is born with the hardware for a superpower. Case closed. But in the other corner, Camp B, Team Nurture. These are the anthropologists and the physiologists. They just laugh at Team Nature. A gene, you think it's one gene? That's adorable. They point to the stilt village, to the laughing children. Did you see those kids? Callback, Section 12? Did you see them seeing underwater? Did you test their visual acuity? Is there a selekifish gene too? No, that is a learned skill, a motor function taught from infancy, something ophthalmologists thought was impossible. And what about his mind? Callback, Section 9. What about his profound, meditative, iron-willed, calm in the face of the screaming CO2 reflex? Is there a Chillet-Willis-phonic gene? No, that is a cultural inheritance, a philosophy of making peace with the sea. Callback, that is beaten into him, not by his DNA, but by his elders. You can't train your spleen, maybe, but you sure as hell can't be born with a spiritual belief system. He is made by his childhood. Case closed. This is the academic equivalent of the chicken or the egg problem, except in this case, the chicken can hold its breath for 5 minutes, and the egg is 200 feet deep and worth a fortune. Team Nature thinks Team Nurture is just a bunch of romantics who believe anyone can become Aquaman if they just try hard enough as a toddler. Team Nurture thinks Team Nature is just lazy, looking for a simple one-size-fits-all Jennifer solution that ignores the complex, beautiful, human part of the story. And now, a quirky and very likely true tidbit is entering the ring. A third idea: what if it's not one or the other? What if it's both? What if it's a perfect feedback loop? This is the new cutting-edge idea. It's a fancy word for a simple, beautiful concept. What if the lifestyle nurture is the on-switch for the gene's nature? Think about it. Maybe the PDE10A gene doesn't just give him a big spleen, maybe it just gives him the potential. You or I could have that exact same gene. We probably don't, but let's pretend. But since we spend our days in office chairs, and our spleens are only ever stressed by, I don't know, a bad burrito, the gene just ... sits there. It's dormant. It's a superpower we never knew we had and never learned to use. But the Bajau child, with that same potential gene, starts diving at age 5. He starts subjecting his body to hypoxic high-pressure stress every day. That daily, brutal, lifelong training is the signal. It's the key in the ignition. It's the nurture that flips the nature switch, telling the PDE10A gene, hey, we're using this. Go, go, go. And so the spleen ... grows. The gene expresses itself powerfully because the culture demands it. This is the great unifying theory that probably solves the whole thing. Scientists are now locked in this final debate. Is it a story of simple evolution or a much more complex story of genoculture coevolution? It's a perfect, inseparable marriage. The genes are the blueprint for the pickup truck. But the culture is the driver who, for 1,000 years, has been taking it off-road, stress testing it, and adding new custom modifications until it became the perfect machine. But, as the scientists argue, as they pack up their DNA swabs and their ultrasound wands, they're all ignoring the elephant in the room. They are furiously debating the origin of this incredible, superhuman skill. While the need for that skill, the entire economic reason for it, callbacks sections 19 and 20, has completely vanished. They're arguing over the blueprint for a machine that is, for all intents and purposes, obsolete. The scientists and their laptops are gone. The geneticists have their precious saliva, and they've VE flown back to their labs to write their papers on the big spleen, gene callback. The anthropologists have their notebooks full of observations on this genoculture coevolution callback. Everyone is very excited. They have found, in this diver, a living, breathing testament to human adaptation. They have found their Aquaman, and the diver is still just sitting in his banca. He is a man with a superhuman ability in a world that has absolutely no economic use for it. The cultured pearls and the invention of plastic callbacks, section 20, didn't just hurt his industry, they obliterated it. They took his 1,000-year-old skill, the skill that his entire biology and culture are built around, and they made it a hobby, a party trick. He can do something that an Olympic athlete callback can't. He can do something that science can barely explain, and he can't buy rice with it. You look around the stilt village, and for the first time, you see what's missing. The young men, you see the children, those Seoter kids callback, splashing and playing. You see the older generation, the men in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, the ones like your diver, mending nets, their bodies often scarred or broken by a lifetime of battling thoracic callback. But where are the 18-year-olds? Where are the 20-somethings? They're not here. This is the mainstream tragic fact of the modern Bajau. The tradition is fading, not because it's not cool, but because it's pointless. The young generation has done the math. Let me get this straight. A 19-year-old thinks, you want me to risk my life, risk thoracic, risk paralysis, risk drowning, risk sharks for an entire day, to bring up a handful of shells that might earn me a few dollars. Or I can go to the mainland. I can get a job on a construction site. I can work at a hotel. I can get a smartphone. It's not a hard choice. The 1,000-year chain of knowledge, passed from father to son, is breaking. The young men don't want to learn the quiet heart callback. They don't want to learn the omens. They don't want to inherit their father's lucky batong stone. They want a pair of jeans, a motorbike, and a high school education. They are leaving the sea. They are, in a very real sense, walking on land for the first time. In a strange, bitter, historical irony, many of the young Samabajau who do stay on the water go to work for the cultured pearl farms. They, the descendants of the world's greatest natural pearl divers, are now paid minimum wage to be farmhands, to clean the cages for the very Japanese industry that made their own heritage obsolete. But there is a darker, more desperate adaptation for those who stay. This is the quirky and absolutely horrific modern tidbit: the rise of compressor diving. You see another boat nearby, and you hear it before you see it. A loud, sputtering thud-thug of a cheap two-stroke engine. It's a gasoline-powered air compressor, the kind you'd buy at a hardware store to run a paint sprayer or a nail gun. It's sitting on the floor of a banca, belching out a cloud of blue, oily smoke. A long, flimsy plastic garden hose runs from the compressor over the side of the boat and disappears into the deep. This is the new technique. This is what has replaced the elegant, silent, single-breath art of the Bajau. Down at the bottom, 100 feet down, is a diver. He has no mask, no regulator, no safety gear. He just has the open end of that hose jammed in his mouth, breathing in the raw, unfiltered, high-pressure air. This is a hookah system, and it is a death machine. It allows the diver to stay on the bottom. Not for 3 minutes, for 3 hours. He can walk along the seabed, clearing entire reefs of sea cucumbers, abalone, or anything else he can sell. But it's killing them. The air is not breathing air, it's industrial air, full of diesel fumes, carbon monoxide, and oil particulates from the rusty compressor. The divers surface with splitting headaches, vomiting, and long-term lung damage, and worse. They have no idea about decompression. They have no computers, no tables. They stay down for 2 hours, absorb a lethal amount of nitrogen callback, and then, when the bag is full, they just come up. The rates of terrasic here are not a risk. They are a 100% certainty. The paralysis, the crippling joint pain, the death, it's epidemic. This is not adaptation. This is a desperate, suicidal, technological shortcut born from a world that demands bulk, not skill. This entire tragic picture is the center of the final grim debate. Sociologists and anthropologists still argue whether we are witnessing the death of a culture or a modern adaptation. One side, the preservationists, argues that this is an extinction. The moment the last diver hangs up his batong stone, the moment the last child chooses a phone over a spear, 1,000-arrowed, unbroken chain of human knowledge, the underwater vision, the mental calm, the big spleen is gone. It's a cultural mass extinction event, and we are just sitting here taking saliva samples while it burns. The other side, the pragmatists, argues, so what? Is it better to be an authentic diver, risking your life for a button shell callback? Or is it better to be an inauthentic construction worker who lives to see his children get an education? They argue that the Sama Bajau are doing what they have always done, adapting. They adapted to the sea. They adapted to the sultans. They adapted to the Spanish callback. And now they are adapting to a globalized, capitalist, land-based world. Moving to the city is just the latest and most logical survival strategy. Your diver, the one in your boat, is one of the last. He is maybe 50 years old. He is a master of a dead art. He has the genes, the training, the mind, ... and no market. He is a living fossil. He looks out at the compressor boat, hears its ugly coughing engine, and shakes his head, a look of profound, quiet sadness on his face. He picks up his batong stone. He's going to do one more. Not for money, not for science, but because it's who he is. He's going down again. One last time. You can still hear the ugly, coughing thud of the compressor boat in the distance, that desperate, noisy, suicidal machine callback. But here on this banca, it is quiet. The diver is ignoring them. He's not diving for sea cucumbers. He's not diving for the Longoni pearl trade. He's not diving for the scientists and their little plastic tubes callback. He's doing this one for him. It's a habit. It's a ritual. It's who he is. He picks up his smooth, heavy batong stone. He looks at his tendero, his partner, the man who has held his life on the end of that rope for 20 years. A simple nod. He takes the one last, deep, calm breath, and he steps off the boat. There is no splash, just a schloop sound, a quiet column of bubbles, and he is gone. The rope, that simple, ancient lifeline, slides through the tendero's hands and vanishes into the blue. You follow him down, back into the quiet, back into the great, blue, silent cathedral. The pressure builds, that familiar, crushing 200-foot embrace callback. Your lungs, in your imagination, are the size of fists. His are too. But you're thinking about the physics of this, one last time. This is the mainstream physiological fact of the absolute human limit, residual volume. Your lungs are not like a balloon you can completely empty, no matter how hard you exhale. Right now, in your chair, there is always a residual volume of air left in them, about 1 to 1.5 liters that you simply cannot force out. It's the air that keeps your lungs from collapsing on themselves, from sticking together on the inside like two wet plastic bags. Now ... do the math. At 200 feet, you are at 7 atmospheres of pressure. That 1.5 liters of cantexal air is now compressed to about 0.2 liters, the size of a juice box. This is the crush. This is the absolute physical limit. If a diver, any diver, goes much deeper, that residual volume shrinks to 0. The lungs, with nothing left inside, will collapse, and the blood pressure will instantly rupture them. This is packing a lunch in a way you really want to avoid. The diver, on every single dive, is taking his body right to the very edge of this catastrophic, non-negotiable law of physics. He is living, breathing, and working at the crush depth. But he's not thinking about that. He lands on the sand, that silent, lunar, slow-motion landing. He is a part of this world. He's not an invader, not like the noisy compressor divers. He's a native. He walks, pulling himself along, his movements as fluid and unhurried as the seaweed. He's not even looking for an oyster. He's just ... here. He's home. And this is the final, quirky, spiritual tidbit. The oldest divers, the grandfathers of the men you see today, had a word for this. They said that on a truly clean dive, when your heart was quiet, callback, and your spirit was at peace, the sea itself would hold you. They described a feeling of being weightless, of being cradled, as if the ocean's spirits were literally, physically supporting them, making the dive effortless. Conversely, if you dove with a greedy or a panicked heart, the sea would reject you. The dive would feel heavy, difficult, and dangerous, as if the water itself was trying to spit you back out. It's the most beautiful, poetic description of a perfect, parasympathetic, flow state dive callback you could ever imagine. It's not just mind over matter. It's your mind and the entire ocean getting along so well, you're invited over for dinner. The diver stops. He looks into the blue-green gloom. He's been down for 3 minutes. His heart is beating at 30 beats per minute. His spleen callback is doing its job. He is a perfect biological machine. He is the last living, breathing example of a 1,000-year-old experiment. He is a masterpiece. He is obsolete. He grabs the rope, 3 tugs. The tendro hauls him from the deep one last time. He rockets up, that silent, streamlined ascent, racing the nitrogen, racing the clock. He breaks the surface. Foosh, the explosive, life-giving breath. He's back. He climbs into the banca, his face impossible to read. He's not posting this on his fitness app. He gets no medal. He just did ... his job, a job that doesn't exist anymore, and this is the final, greatest debate of all. Scientists, ethicists, and even philosophers are now arguing. What was the point of all this in the grand scheme of humanity? Was this just a beautiful, strange, evolutionary dead end? A biological cul-de-sac? Is he just a pickup truck callback in a world that only wants F1 cars and, worse, doesn't even have roads anymore? Or ... is it something more? Does his genetic toolkit, that big spleen gene, that incredible natural hypoxia torrents, hold a key to our future? Could understanding the Samabayu's DNA help us treat heart attacks and strokes, which are, at their core, hypoxic events? Could it help us treat sleep apnea? Could it, and this is the most far-out idea, be vital for our own future in the deep ... the deep of space? Are we a land-dwelling species trying to solve the problems of low-oxygen, high-stress, closed-loop environments? When the answer, the genetic key, has been here all along, walking on a stilthouse in the Sulu Sea. Is the survival of our species on Mars ... dependent on the DNA of a man whose own culture is on the verge of extinction? We took his pearls, we took his labor, and now, the last thing we might take ... is his code. And now, it's all over. The diver stows his stone and his rope. The tendro starts the small engine. The banca turns, slowly heading back toward the stilt village, its shadow stretching long in the late afternoon sun. You're left floating with the silence and the deep and the ghosts of 1,000 years of divers who made this journey. The sun is beginning to dip now, painting the high, wispy clouds in shades of soft apricot and lavender. The water, which was a brilliant, glaring turquoise, has softened to a deep, velvety indigo. The air is cooling, the day's work is done, the story is told. This man, this living, breathing miracle, is a remnant. He is a memory, still walking and breathing. He is the last chapter of an ancient book, and he doesn't even know that the world has stopped reading it. But his body, that incredible, adapted, evolved machine, is a testament. It's a testament to the profound, almost unimaginable, plasticity of what it means to be human. It's a reminder that we are not fixed, that we can adapt, that our bodies hold secrets and potentials that we, in our modern, comfortable, land-dwelling lives, have not even begun to understand. He is the pearl diver, and the pearl is the deep, quiet, impossible secret hidden inside his very own DNA. So as you get ready for sleep, just ... let that sink in. Let the quiet of the deep, that 200-foot deep, silent bluegree.com, settle over you. There are no quotas to meet, no compressors to fear. There is just the gentle, rhythmic lapping of the water and the knowledge that the human body is a miracle.